welcome to the Overlap Rugby Podcast World Cup Special.
Yeah.
Here we are, World Cup, all the hype, all the talking, except for this talking is all over.
Yes.
It's time. It's time to preview the tournament. No more warm-ups. No more club footy. The end of a 4-year cycle.
Yeah.
We're here. World Cup time, baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for all our French fans, we're sorry we won't be covering the top couture over the next few weeks.
Oh, I know that would be distressful for you.
I know, yeah.
World Cup Rugby is here, and this is our World Cup special. The whole show is our World Cup preview.
Yep.
We're going to go through all the pools. We're going to, Pool A through Pool D. We're going to go through all the teams, talk to you about their chances, give you some predictions towards the end, and then maybe talk about, what we think might happen in terms of who might be a bolter, what players to look out for, who's going to be player of the tournament, who's going to be top try scorer of the tournament.
Yes.
Not that we know the answers to any of these questions. It is such a close tournament. I'm buzzing for it. I'm extremely excited.
Yes. And we have a pretty packed show with it because there is, as you say, quite a lot to get through in just that, like what you outlined. Yeah, obviously every group has its own little dynamic to it. There are some contenders in each, but also some very interesting games amongst even tier 2 nations in some of those groups.
There's merits to all of these teams in this competition. There are 20 great sides. I'm very excited to talk about them and see them.
Yes.
And the World Cup represents, for all teams, no matter how big a star, it represents just a massive opportunity because it is watched in a way that rugby we usually cover isn't. I mean, even the big events, your rugby championships, even Six Nations and Champions Cups, not on this level. Yeah, this will be watched in America. This will be watched obviously across Asia, Japan
will be watching for sure.
Everybody's going to be watching this tournament. Every peripheral rugby fan will be watching this tournament. Journalism and media guys are going to be covering it. Yeah. It represents for players and teams alike, tiered no matter what their level, a massive opportunity and a real great chance to showcase our sport.
Exactly.
I
was just saying the last one was excellent and doing just that. 2015 was a wonderful spectacle as well, and we're hoping for more of the same for 2019 as well. We'll likely have a dry track, likely have quite a humid thing,
that's
temperature
the conditions
over there.
At the moment.
Conditions are
humid and hot, which will be a talking point for sure.
It's definitely a talking point. It's tough for Northern Hemisphere sides, but for the neutral non-rugby fan, the casual rugby fan, it's probably better that we're not having too many mud games either. We'll probably be more likely to have just fast and loose kind of try scoring affairs.
Should suit the more attacking and less attritional sides, no question. Obviously there'll be some intangibles as the tournament goes on. Refereeing decisions will be huge. We have spoke in at times during this cycle about how the tackle area is being
refed. A lot of officiating has changed over the course of these last 4 years. There's been a lot of new kind of rotations of laws in and just new interpretations as well. So this will all be like in terms of the showcase event. It's the same for the officials as well. They want to get everything right in terms of what planning for the future of rugby.
The consistency of officiating around the tackle area in particular will definitely be very interesting to see. Yeah, and it's definitely a very real dynamic that we'll see as it goes on. And then obviously injuries will play their part.
Always play their part.
There are some people holidaying or doing begrudging pre-season with their clubs who will play a part in this tournament before the end of it. We just don't know who.
Don't know who.
And then obviously one of the questions, just before we obviously go into that Pool A, one of the broader questions that we're looking to answer, and we will go back to it as a theme of the show as we go on, is just how important the idea of this World Cup cycle is. Yeah. We've seen some patterns emerge over this cycle, and yet we've seen some trends booked in the last year that would make you wonder about whether it's really about building for 4 years to a crescendo, or is it just about getting right for 6 weeks, getting everything exactly where it needs to be for 6 weeks of rugby, and that can be enough to do it. And I think with some of the results and some teams in particular who haven't been doing much over the last 4 years but could spring a run together, we might get an answer to that question.
Definitely. That is a very key talking point, and we will kind of touch back on it I think once we get through all the pools as well, and we're getting into contenders for the tournament and the winning conditions therein. That'll be an interesting dynamic to it, because obviously if you're looking at the 4 years, you can probably make a just prediction in one direction if you're backing on the fact that there is a 4-year cycle, but then momentum in a tournament and then a bit of confidence can do a lot for a team. And even if they've been all over the place for the last 4 years, if they're a good attacking side with a bit of confidence and a pep in their step, they can string 6-7 games together. And
we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
So it happened with Australia the last tournament.
Indeed. France the tournament before.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Without any further ado, we are going to start looking through the teams and the pools.
Yes.
And we're going to start, obviously, with Pool A.
Yeah.
A reasonable place to start. Pool A consisting of Ireland, Scotland, Japan, Samoa, and Russia. Japan, obviously, the hosts. And we're just going to start by taking the briefest look at Russia.
Yes, Russia are obviously the lowest ranked team in this pool, but also, curiously, they're the only team in this tournament that haven't arrived on merit. They didn't qualify in the Rugby Europe Championship.
Administrative merit.
Administrative merit, yes. Whistleblower fielding of ineligible players by, I think, was it Romania, Spain
and Belgium,
which all bumped them below Russia for them to springboard in.
Yes.
Next to the Georgians, obviously the two teams to qualify from that tournament. So they're obviously going to struggle. I reckon that really badly. They're coming off home defeats to the Jersey Reds and Connacht, which is not an encouraging sign to go into a pool like this. With teams like Samoa looked pretty decent in the PNC. Japan looked very, very good, and despite what happened with the Springbok game before, Japan still looked dangerous. Russia, I think, will be shocked. They are quite a physical team. They're quite big. They try and play a bit of a like that kind of game, a kind of bits and pieces game, and kick.
They try and move the ball around. They try and play exciting footy.
There's a fair bit of quitting them when it goes wrong.
There is, and they get stroppy. I think in terms of players to watch, I've always been a fan of their now captain Artemiev. He's a lad who actually was schooled up in Dublin in Blackrock College.
That's right.
Near enough to us. And he is a bit exciting. He can finish a score if you give it to him. And they have another lad, Davidov, who plays on the wing for them, who's a sevens lad, who is a useful player as well. And in terms of what they're hoping for from the tournament, realistically, 4 losses seem to be on the horizon. They're just going to be hoping to get some plays off.
Yeah. And
I think they're going to be happy to be there. But it does represent an opportunity. If they can get a bit of momentum going, if they can get something going, there will be people watching in Russia, and it is a chance to grow the sport. Yeah. More likely than not. Probably not the side that we're going to be talking about in 6 weeks' time. No,
I'd imagine not. It's probably a bit early for them. Like, the fact that they managed to be here at all is obviously the achievement, and they'll target the Samoa game with more venom than the other ones, thinking that it's probably their best good chance of getting a win. But even at that, it's a slim hope, I reckon, because I think there are levels to this game, and Russia are a few rungs below what else is in this pool.
For sure. More of an amateurish team, and probably there to make up the numbers. Yeah. In terms of Samoa, what are their chances? It's a curious one. They've sort of like island nations tend to be. They've been up and down over the last number of years. They took a hell of a long time to qualify for the tournament, doing so in a playoff against Germany, which could have been a more slippery playoff. You never know if it was against Romania, but for that ineligible player scandal that we just touched on. But they have assembled a nice squad for this tournament of a lot of pro players, a lot of talented players, and they certainly, in terms of their loose forwards and their centres in particular, along with Tim Nanai-Williams, they have some quality. They can make some plays happen. I think in particular that back row, whatever way they put it together of the 4 guys, Amosa will probably play at 8. Chris Vui then has to be in the team, and then one of TJ Ioane or Jack Lamb.
Those are all very fine players.
Making up a great back row with a bit of impact off the bench, whoever you don't leave out. So they can definitely make plays happen. They can be robust defensively. And in terms of their centres, they have Lilo and Leua they could go for. They could put Fonatia in and put Lilo to the wing. And then obviously in Nanai-Williams they have a really, really classy player as well.
Yes, true, yeah.
So
they were impressive in terms of they got themselves back into the game against the Wallabies in the weekend just passed. Even though they were kind of outgunned in the first half, they managed to stick with it. They have 2 decent 10s in Sayuteni and Tusipisi.
That's true.
They have decisions to make there as far as who they want to do, and they there's an element of horses for courses. They both play kind of different styles, so they can mix that up. They also have a bit of World Cup pedigree. Like, they've been here before. They know more about it than Russia, say, for sure.
Yes, yeah.
So they'll be hoping to get some plays off, and they will be looking to target things like Scotland and Japan. They'll give them a game. They
definitely hope to. They had both Scotland and Japan in their pool the last time out, and they gave Scotland a decent go of it and kind of let themselves down against Japan. They were very tame that day.
Yeah. That is unfortunate that in throughout their World Cup history they kind of have an element of that, more so than even when you look at Tonga or something, who tend to like punch above their weight in World Cup time. Samoa tend to look like they have a really talented squad, and you're thinking of like even Alasana back in the day, and so much potential, bags of potential, but it tends to feel like it's squandered come World Cup time. They never really seem to put it all together at the right time and make it happen. And just given the pool they're in, it's tough really, given that they have the hosts Japan as the other tier 2 team they're really competing with for third, because third is kind of a coveted goal for all these tier 2 sides, because that means automatic qualification.
It's true.
So but that'll be a tough ask in this pool, because
it'll all be a tough ask, but Samoa, like, I don't know if all the elements are there, but what I have seen this year has impressed me in the sense that they seem to have a bit of grit about them.
Yeah.
They got a very good win over Tonga in the rain in Apia on the opening day of the PNC when it was just awful conditions, and they played a very skilled high-level game. Sayuteni at 10 looked great.
Yeah, that was an awesome game. They should keep going to the mine with that performance, because that is something they can really
when you have
dig
workhorses in the back row who are going to keep making plays for you, and very skilled guys in the centre who can get offloads off, they have a chance to get some plays off. Ideally, you would hope that they can make some things happen in some of those games. I don't know if it'll be enough to win them, but I think they should be a fun team to watch and a side to look out for in that pool as a side that you would hope can sort of bridge the gap between tier 2 and tier 1 and make it more scrappy.
Yeah,
I think they're one of the sides that, in terms of developing the game, you would be optimistic about them not getting blown away by the tier 1 sides. Yeah,
more so than some of the other tier 2. Just even the style of game they play, they can be attacking, they can be very physical. Totally. So it means that they can, if they string it all together, they can stand up for at least 60 minutes in these games anyway. Yeah. There are other tier 2 sides in this comp that like try and play like a lower version of the kind of fundamentals game, and with them you fear more that they'll just get blown away because they're outmatched everywhere. Whereas Samoa, you're hoping that when they get down to it and when the anthems are done and all this and they're ready for the game, that they do make it tough and physical and hit some guys very hard, and they may surprise the Scots or something in the first half. That's their hope for this.
Exactly, and try not to get too loose. Suspicion though that obviously they are the 4th side in this group.
I suspect that's where they'll finish. I think they will have too much for Russia comfortably. I think everyone will have too much for Russia, but there are tougher challenges ahead for that Samoa team.
Moving on, Japan, obviously the 3rd ranked team in this group, but they have lofty expectations.
They're the only champions in this group, PNC champions. Well, there's no other champion in the pool, so they'll definitely be buoyant and confident coming in. They did get a bit of a shellacking at the hands of the Springboks, but that wasn't even quite a story of tier 1, tier 2. That was more a story of a box side wounded that was
the Springboks have done that
to
Argentina in Argentina and Australia with their B side.
There's not as much shame in it for sure, and especially given the performances they've shown throughout. The game against Fiji in the PNC was awesome. Their first 20 minutes in that game was stellar. You'd never see such beautiful rugby. And shocked the Fijians who were tournament favourites and champions going in. They look really, really buoyant and well prepared, and really like they've primed for this tournament. It's their World Cup, home World Cup. They're going to host it. They're going to be delighted to be doing so.
When we're talking about Samoa and we're talking about Russia, we're not talking about realistic expectations of a quarterfinal. It's not even a goal of theirs. Their goal is more to get some plays off, to have a positive showing, to live up to your potential and give these sides a game. With Japan, it's very much, let's see if we can make a quarterfinal. They were the first side to ever win 3 out of 4 pool games last time and not make a quarters.
Do you suspect they'll be going for more bonus points this time round?
Well, certainly their instinct to just take 3, especially in that game against Samoa when they were there for the taking. And they'd already been beaten by Scotland, and they should have been more prudent in terms of knowing what they needed to do.
But it's the first time they were ever there in a position to compete in a pool stage. It's easier said than done, and it was an unfortunate thing that they missed out after that wonderful performance 4 years ago. But they've definitely been growing since then, and as well as Eddie Jones did with them, now they're under Jamie Joseph, who's also a very prudent guy, former Highlanders coach, amazing. Just appreciation for what Japanese rugby is, and has them playing quick, technical rugby, and trying to keep the ball alive, trying to be faster and more skillful than the opposition.
There's a wonderfully true Japanese element to this side. They are very true to their nationality, and I think that the fans really respect that.
Yeah.
There is an Islander contingent in that side.
There is, yeah.
But they all speak Japanese and have really tried to embrace the culture over there, and their fans really appreciate it. It's a side that has a huge public backing. They seem to have a fascination with rugby.
Yeah,
they seem to really.
Japanese crowds are great. Like
Yeah.
when even going back to the Super Rugby season, all the Sunwolves games that were played in Japan
were great.
And the crowd
better.
is like very receptive. And I always love when crowds respond to things like hits or drop balls or things that are just in the middle of play, and like when you get that kind of from the crowd getting a response, you know that they're properly engaged in every moment.
Exactly. They're looking at the game.
Yeah.
And they do enjoy it, and they like the idea of their brave blossoms, their small men taking on the giants, the Godzillas.
Yes.
And they definitely can do it in terms of how they play this game. It's very fast, it's ruthless, it's about attacking space. Wherever it is, they can kick into space and find territory that way, or preferably pass into space and get their wingers on the ball. But they'll pick inside lines if the space is there. They'll run good aggressive lines off each other's shoulders and get offloads away. Yeah. It's all about observing where the space is and attacking that.
Yeah. But their set piece is very technical as well. They're very proficient at both scrum and line out. They're a well drilled side.
Yeah. Tony Brown is a very good guy for launching nice attacks. See, Tony Brown is their attack coach. Obviously, he used to work with Joseph in the Highlanders and now is working with him here. He likes to launch things off set piece. You would expect to see some clever moves from them in that department.
Yeah.
But yes, keeping the ball alive and keeping the game quick, trying to be the quickest team in this whole tournament is crucial. And one of the things that South Africa did to them that Fiji couldn't do, for example, and I guess the two highest level games they've played this year, one was exemplary against Fiji and the other less so against South Africa, was the Saffas managed to trap the ball in the tackle, and that's something they don't like. Even when they were getting stopped by Fiji, they like to turn it around. They don't want rucks. They want to get the offload away, even if it's just to the scrummy and you're resetting. We could just do without a ruck here. Move the ball quickly, get it out to the wingers who are their lethal guys, Fukuoka and Matsushima.
Yes,
that's the dream for them, and obviously physicality of the likes of Ireland could become a problem for them.
It could be, it has been before. It's been their kryptonite. Same with the England game last year, where they were so competitive for so long, but then the dam did break with that and that physical toll. They are still a relatively small side, and when you look at their rows as well, like they're reasonable good footballers, all of them. But when it comes down to absolute physicality, they're sometimes lacking. That'll be the fear with Ireland now. Ireland do have a short turnaround into it, so they will be targeting that game. They'll be looking to, as you say, make it fast, make it loose. And we know, as Irish fans, we know that Ireland aren't good at chasing a game. So if Japan get their first 20-minute, first quarter blitz going, and Ireland are a bit sluggish, and then they go grab 2 tries, that's suddenly a hairy game, and it's one that Japan can win if they end up on top. But similar to the South Africa one, we were saying, like, if it's even remotely tight after 20 minutes, Japan probably won't match that.
If they get wrapped up in the contact and they can't get out the ball, that's terrible. And the other thing that's terrible is when teams hold the ball against them, big sides, that does start to tell that pressure.
And that's something that Ireland will try and do. But their cup final really is the Scotland game.
Yes.
In terms of this pool, like in terms of realistic expectations of trying to make their first ever quarter final, Scotland are the team standing in their way, and Scotland are the team that brought them back down to earth 4 years ago after being on cloud 9 after that amazing win.
True.
So Scotland will have no fear of them really coming off putting a well touted Georgia side to bed home and away. Scotland are actually riding a bit of momentum into this tournament, which is very positive. So Scotland is their cup final realistically for Japan, and it's a tough game at that. Like, Gregor Townsend has similar aspirations for Scotland, being a fast attacking team, led by Finn Russell at 10. Similarly, Japan have Yu Tamura, who's an excellent passer of a ball, good reader of a game, tries to kick them into good territory as well. We did see him a little frazzled and rocked in that Springbok game, but that had happened before him. Whenever you see a 10 in that way, it means the pack is suffering.
It's so harsh to judge a team on getting shellacked by the Boks. The Boks are just in some kind of mood, and we will talk about them when we're talking about Pool B. But Japan, definitely a load of optimism. Going into it, it's as with all tier 2 sides, they need things to go their way. They need the right end of the referee decisions. They need to have the plays come off when they have their opportunities. They have to take them. There are more scenarios where they don't make it out of the pool than ones where they do, but they definitely have a chance. And it's all about pace and it's all about speed, and what's more, they're a very fun side to watch. I think everybody does enjoy them.
I really enjoy it. For most people, it's their second favourite team is Japan. I really love watching the way they play the game. Love the technical aspect, the focus on skill and speed, as you say, but accuracy too. When it comes off, it's flawless rugby. It looks amazing. And they have some great admiral players, like Michael Leach is someone who you can't but admire as well. What a glittering career he's had.
And still doing his best and pulling off some insanely skilled plays.
Yes, indeed. They're a very, very exciting team. At home, they have a chance, Scotland will not love the matchup, to be honest. They'll as much as they'll be game for it and bring it on, and realistically they should win it given their pedigree and where they are, Six Nations, tier 1, tier 2 kind of thing. But Japan will give them a right go, and the crowd will be right behind them and on top of Scotland. And we've seen Scotland, in terms of World Cycle Chat, we've seen them struggle away from home, and as opposed to being very buoyant in Murrayfield. And
it is a very different. They won't have the Murrayfield factor, which has been huge for them this whole cycle. But it's a very different thing being away from home to actually just being in a camp. In a place for ages.
That's true.
It's a different thing. It's not quite away from home, and it's not.
No, it's not. But unless you're playing the hosts, Japan,
but
and
even
it feels away.
It's definitely more of an away game. But even so, it's still got slightly different when you're in a World Cup.
Granted, that's true. I suppose we will pivot on then to Scotland. Because they have aspirations of quarter-final. They have actual realistic hopes of doing Ireland on day one and topping the pool and getting out and first. They will be thinking that way themselves, totally. For sure. And why not? To be honest, they've beaten Ireland in this World Cup cycle, not as often as they would have liked. They've had a few memories of some loose plays getting away from them, some chances gone awry that they just haven't executed against this Ireland team. And to be honest, Schmidt's Ireland has tended to get the better of them, but that can all change. They have an amazing playmaker in Finn Russell at 10, who can make stuff happen from anywhere on the pitch with kick, with pass, anything.
He's probably the primary, visionary 10 in the game right now. He is who Freddie Michalak wishes he was. He's got an incredible vision and a skill set to boot. He will just throw off his left hand a 40-50 yard pass and just whip it across the field if that's where the space is, if you give him anything. He's probably the kryptonite if it goes off to that Bok blitz, to that English blitz. We saw England, ferocious pace that they come out of the line with, and he ripped them to shreds with speed and accuracy. He's everything to the Scottish team. When we started this podcast back at the January of 2017, we took a year break at one point, but we did start the podcast back then, and we actually they were I think our favourite side. For a very long time. And they've never quite lived up to the potential that the talent in the side has. But when they click, they are a joy to watch. They can be frustrating and maddening, like in the first half in Twickenham this year when they shipped 38 consecutive points, were just flapped all over the place by a relentless England and couldn't get anything off. And then they're joyous, like in the second half against England in Twickenham this year, when they just ripped apart one of the great sides in Twickenham, away from home, ripped them to shreds and just didn't stop scoring, except and until the game became winnable, at which point they did stop scoring.
Which is symptomatic of the issue with this side. It's when all things are gone and there's no pressure off, they play probably the most spectacular rugby on the planet, and the second the stakes return, they blow it. Which is an unfortunate trait to have coming into a World Cup. It could be the undoing. It'll likely be the undoing against Ireland, but it could be more risky when they get to that Japan game as well. They want to be accurate. They want to play their game and impose their pace on it. They don't want to be as loose as they have been at times in these last 4 years. They've tended there are too many like I'm remembering far too many soft intercept plays, some terrible centre play defending, which I think they've remedied with this Sam Johnson-Harris combination.
They've remedied it as best they can.
But they've
left
still
Hugh Jones out of the squad to rectify that.
Well, it was an issue. Like they were just leaking tries for fun through that centre channel.
Yeah.
And like as much as their whole pack are very harrying and harassing, which has always been a trait of Scottish rugby, even in the terrible years of Dan Parks kicking all their goals and all that, and then even before that Patterson kicking and no back play to speak of, and a very ugly side to watch. This new iteration, far more exciting. Gregor Townsend has brought great grace to the way Scotland play rugby, but he's kept
Vern Cotter before him.
But he's kept that little bit of edge and niggle that serves them so well in the Six Nations. Their breakdowns are always bitty and confrontational, as is their line out, their maul. And they do try and get stuck into sides and make them awkward and harassing.
I think the key to them, reaching their potential is in that forward pack. They've guys like Hamish Watson and John Barclay who will start on the flank, who at their best are brilliant breakdown operators. I remember when they beat Wales in Murrayfield and they just owned the breakdown that day. It's not an easy thing to do in Wales. That was in this cycle. And then obviously they have this more Edinburgh pack. McAnally, a great ball carrier.
And he's another good jackler as well. To be honest, he contributes to that breakdown. And you're right, Gilchrist and Toulis had a real heft from the rows.
Yeah, and indeed, and so they have a very useful pack. They have a very elite tight head scrummager, one in Willem Nel, and he could be a guy to impose himself on the Japanese, and they will try and take them on toe for toe, go for the attacking plays when they're there. They won't slow it up against Japan.
No.
But they will try and win it up front.
Well, they won't slow up their own ball. They'll try and slow up Japanese ball. That's kind of the distinction,
Yes. I think they will. I think they probably will have too much for Japan, but it is tight. They are an excellent side, and their objective going into this tournament is to give it all they can get against Ireland, maybe win that game, make a quarter final, and give they have recent memory of putting it up to the All Blacks in Murrayfield.
They do.
They're gonna give it all in that quarter final, no matter who they play, and they will get some plays off
for sure.
Very fun team to watch.
It is unfortunate for them that it's like as bad as it is as Ireland fans, that it's going to be either New Zealand or South Africa that they face in the quarterfinals. Even worse for Scotland that is the case, because they have no living memory of beating either of those sides, and it means that despite all the progress in this 4 years, you're going to probably reach quarterfinal and then reach the brick wall. That being said, they do have Japan to see off, who are tournament hosts, and a very dangerous side, and that'll be some game to watch. The two of them going at it, two great attacking sides.
It'll be one of the games of the tournament.
And I suppose then we can move on to Ireland, burying the lead no longer. Ireland, our team, we are hopeful, optimistic for our chances.
Number one seed in the pool.
Number one seed in the world. Yes, managing to take the number one spot at the moment in time when the rankings mean exactly nothing.
Yeah, well, number one seed in the world is always. It is.
It's a good feather in the cap. It's another first for Joe. Go on, Joe.
They certainly. It's not all doom and gloom when it comes to Ireland. They'll be looking to put it together. They're not the same team that Scotland and Japan are. They are not about ruthless, necessarily, or not ruthless in the same way. Offensive play. They do operate with some speed. They do like to catch teams off, but it is more methodical. Yeah,
there's more of a kind of a steady rhythm. When they're in flow, it's not out and out blistering blitz with ball in hand, but it is a very kind of steady steamroller of an attacking set.
It's dominant collisions with the ball.
Yeah.
Clean ball, because the ruck has been resourced very well.
People are running lines, not support lines for offload, support lines for the ensuing rucks.
Well, indeed. And then quick ruck, quick ball, and always a few options. And that's where Sexton, who the Ireland's 10, one of the great 10s in the world, his offensive play really comes into things. When Ireland are at their best, they are rhythmic. And Warren Gatland was criticising the other week for being off nine, but they do actually play quite a bit off Sexton as well, who runs their attack.
Yeah.
And when they get a bit of go forward, they give Sexton the ball, and he'll play narrow. They will just try and win those collisions, but he'll have a few options and he'll pick the right one.
Yeah.
The softest shoulder, and that's where Ireland can become very intimidating to deal with. When it's just a constant around the corner of good offensive lines and enough subtlety and cleverness in the attacking shape that it's actually hard to predict what they're doing.
Yes.
Which, at their worst, they do become predictable, and then they become stoppable.
Yeah.
But at their best, they're not being like too expansive, but they are running subtle and creative angles in that attacking play.
And being fit, every one of their ball carriers is physical
Yes.
as well. So you can have a Robbie Henshaw
Yeah.
running off Johnny, and he'll be tough to
You
stop.
have Sexton, and he can pop it to one of Henshaw or Aki or CJ Stander, and you don't know who he's going to hit, and whoever he hits is going to be the guy who's running at a soft shoulder, and he's going to make yards. Then they're going to resource that breakdown, and then they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They like to hold the ball. They take it through more phases than any other side.
Yes.
Unlike Japan, who are allergic to breakdowns,
This
they
is
go
the
through
opposite.
loads.
Yeah, it's a different style entirely, and
Yeah.
it has merit. Like if you can
Yeah.
hold the ball and kill the clock and spend 10 minutes of the game camped in the opposition 22, not necessarily scoring, but just making them make tackles, you can milk yellow cards from it. And Ireland at their best, 2018 vintage of this Ireland, are the most disciplined side in World Rugby as well, because when they're on top there's no need to concede silly penalties, and they tend to be good at avoiding that, and they do force the opposition into giving away penalties in the wake of having no ball. And we've seen it work against the All Blacks, obviously, who are a team who like to get their hands on the ball. Same with the Wallabies. I'm thinking Test 2 in the series against Australia
Melbourne,
was a great illustration of all that Schmidt ball can be in terms of we're playing off 9, we're playing off 10, lots of deception, lots of shapes, and lots of breakdowns.
Indeed, and at their best, it's Sexton running the show and being beautiful as well. Conor Murray is a guy who obviously has a huge reputation, hasn't been in great form, seemed to find it in that Welsh game at the end of the warm-ups.
He was definitely much better,
His passing game off 9 is very crisp, and they just like to hold the ball, like as you say, and pick good options. And with those two guys distributing, it can become a relentless thing. Their exit play has a bit of mix-up to it. We don't really know. They have box kicked, they have gone cross-field kick, they have whipped it across ball in hand. They'll likely vary that as they go. But one of their secret weapons is their sort of tight 5 eliteness. It's not that secret a weapon, I guess, but their scrum is phenomenal, and their backup scrum is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal too.
They have incredible prop forwards. Cian Healy has been one of the greats of the game, I think, for this decade.
And then Kilcoyne has come like a freight train for him as well. Like, I would have no fears of him starting a big game. He's
Kilcoyne behind him is in the form of his life, and is another very tigerish scrummager. At tight head, you have the best tight head out there, Tyg Furlong, who does a million things. He's a crucial player in terms of cleaning out rucks, offensive clean outs. He's I've never seen a guy quite like him at doing that. He's got such heft.
But again, in that second test, that Pocock clean out is one of the best things you've ever seen. Pocock getting over the typical Pocock stance, and Tyg Furlong at pace lays him out, puts him to around 4 meters beyond the ruck on his arse.
That's what he does.
He's a very powerful man.
He also grabs tries, so they can scrummage, and they brought it was a big news story over here when they named the squad. They left Dev out and they brought South African John Klein, but it was probably an indication of the fact that they're going to be looking for dominant scrummaging, especially against the likes of Scotland and Japan in this pool. They're going to look to get on top of them at scrum time, play their way down the pitch with penalties, and then hold the ball until there's tries and there's those teams are getting washed out. They're going to look to physically dominate both Scotland and Japan, and then obviously that's their opening week block, and then after that they will know where they stand, and they'll have games against Samoa and Japan, Samoa and Russia, who they will likely have way too much for.
And we'll mix it up as well. They have a good squad, like as you said, leaving out Devon Toner. Similarly, Kieran Marmion in great form, 2 lads who started against the All Blacks in that test last year that they beat them. That now they're not in the squad. It's the first time ever really that Ireland have come to a World Cup with a very, very competitive 31-man squad. We've always gone with very competitive 15-man teams, but never really prioritised the guys in behind it. And even like some of the talk from 07, there's always a few heads in the camp kind of walking around holding tackle bags, knowing that they have no hope of getting in shy of an injury, whereas that's not true with this team. It's competitive, no one's really safe, and he's created a very good environment where the guys behind know the system very well and can slot in and do a similar job.
Indeed.
So they're true contenders. They're coming in really buoyant.
They obviously, as we've touched on, Murray and Sexton are two of the great on their day. Certainly are two of the great distributing halfbacks in World Rugby. They have a lethal winger in Jacob Stockdale, who's up there with anybody for grabbing tries. And they have one of the great players of the world right now in James Ryan, who's just a phenomenon. If you don't know him, you will after this tournament. He is a physical presence.
And
like a few others, and a workhorse, and he changes games defensively and offensively just by dominating contacts and being incredibly dynamic and quick and smart. and he's definitely a big hope for Ireland as just one of the great players of the world.
Definitely.
Who I'm all very excited to see.
Yeah.
Predictions for the pool. What do we think?
Well, I'm predictions for the pool. I'm going to confidently say that Ireland are going to top it. That we're going to navigate those tough two tests against Scotland and then Japan.
Yeah.
And then I am going to back Scotland to get it done against Japan.
Yeah.
Based purely on based a lot actually on that those two showings against Georgia really encouraged me in terms of where Scotland are at, but also kind of affirmed something in my head, which is that I think there is more of a pronounced gap between tier 1 and tier 2 than there was 4 years ago. And for 4 years ago we saw more competitive games. We saw obviously that Japan victory, but we saw a lot of tier 2 sides putting it up to the tier 1 ones. Whereas I think the rate of improvement has just
the biggest narrowing gap in this 4-year cycle has actually been between the likes of the All Blacks at the very top and the likes of Scotland at the bottom edge of tier 1. That gap has narrowed dramatically. So all of tier 1 is a whole lot closer than it used to be, and as a result just the constant game time and the constant constantly improving coaching and everything else and professionalism that is developing amongst the tier 1 sides is creating that natural gap against tier 2 sides that are improving, but just not quite at the same rate as the tier 1 sides above them. And I think that might be a recurring theme.
Might be. That being said, Japan are closer than most. They're one of the big three in terms of tier 2 sides. They're up there, and they will be giving both Scotland and Ireland a game.
The predictions aren't that important. There are conditions for Japan to get out of this pool. It can happen. It's one of the possibilities. I'm very much looking forward to seeing that game, which will be on the last weekend more than any other.
True.
And obviously Ireland Scotland on the opening weekend will colour a lot of it as well.
Yes, very true.
But yes, Ireland, I think, the strongest side and the one real contender in Pool A.
Yes, I'd agree. I suppose we will move on to Pool B, which is also intriguing. Pool B consisting of the All Blacks, Springboks, Italy, Canada and Namibia. And this one is a bit less dramatic in terms of that gap we were talking about is very pronounced. Obviously, game one is going to be important, but I suppose we will start by giving the lower sides their due. So Namibia, who are the one side in this whole World Cup that I haven't seen play any rugby this year. I have seen no tape on Namibia. I know that they're all Namibian. I got that news. I know that they beat Southern Kings at home in their warm-up game, which is good, and that's important. They will be duking it out with Canada over that'll be their big game as to who gets the bottom of the pool or not.
They have Welsh coach Phil Davis in charge, who's been there for a good few years now, since 2014. They have a lad, Torsten van Jaarsveld, who has been Cheetah's hooker for the last number of years, or one of the Cheetah's hookers, and a very dynamic South African style ball carrying hooker who they'll be hoping will get some plays off for them, and Captain Johan Dijssel, who was there for them in the last World Cup from the centre. Currently from Colomiers, but formerly a Sharks man.
Right.
And he will obviously be they'll be hanging a lot of their hopes on him. Obviously in this pool, it's all about not finishing bottom. It's all about getting that elusive Rugby World Cup victory for Namibia.
And Canada is their best bet.
They have an opportunity. They're going to be playing Canada in a match that is not going to be considered that big, and for obvious reasons. But it'll be big for those teams, and I think that'll be their primary aim. It's to do as well as they can and perform as well as they can against everybody. But getting that win against Canada would be very, very nice for them, and that'll be what they're going for.
They'll be shocked by New Zealand and South Africa, and to be honest, Italy I think as well are a few rungs above, so that'll be their cup final. But we will talk then about their opponents in their cup final, Canada, and both of these teams I think are the very comfortably below even where Italy are at, and then even more colossally below where the All Blacks and Springboks are.
Even generically the PNC teams, these are the bottom rung of tier 2 Canada. You were talking about Namibia. We haven't seen any tape on them. We've seen far too much
Canada tape
of this Canada team.
Sure, they played Leinster, and nothing even like a Leinster A kind of side, a side that you wouldn't be confident would win many Pro 14 games, and yet they were comfortably better than them. Canada have looked really awful this year. As bad as I've ever seen a Canada team look. They have a DTH Van der Merwe on the wing that they just cannot play into the game at all. They have no way of getting nothing off. They have a Peter Nelson at either fullback or 10. He's come straight into the squad, having not been making the team at Ulster and not been very impressive in club rugby over here in Europe, and yet he's now one of their primary playmakers.
They don't really know what they want to be. They tend to line up in this sort of physical, structured way, exiting with box kicks, but they're not physical enough for it, and they're not. They tend to just kick the ball away loosely and concede tries.
Yes,
not a great defensive team. The best success that they've had has been actually when they've been behind.
Yeah,
in
when
games.
they've lost and the games and had to throw it around.
Yeah,
and then doing it. They do have Graham Henry coming in.
That's true.
In an advisory role.
And since he came in, they've played one game against the USA where they did get a couple of early scores, and actually they only lost it by 20 points to 15.
There you go.
They had like a 15-0 lead, granted. Which is disappointing to blow, but that is better.
Yeah.
And certainly Graham Henry will encourage them to throw the ball around a bit more. But I would worry for them. Tyler Ardron is a guy to watch out for. He plays for the Chiefs in the second row. Could be a decent guy to get some plays off, and Evan Olmstead as well. Just if for nothing else, his crazy hair.
Yeah, McCrory is there 9 or 10 as well. He's a solid operator too. But yeah, no, they are just quite loose in general, and you're right in saying the lower level of tier 2.
Yeah, they've been coached by this
in
lad.
PNC.
Kingsley Jones has been their coach for the last number of years, who had coached the Dragons, and he has turned them into a very similarly desperate outfit as the Dragons.
Yeah.
They will be hoping to get that win against Namibia, but I wonder if they will.
I wonder if they will is right.
Yeah.
You have a suspicion that they might be the worst team in the comp. I think.
Yeah, well, obviously Russia have changed that equation somewhat by being just hockeyed by championship sides.
Yes, indeed. Well, it would make sense that Russia be the lowest one because they didn't even qualify.
Yeah.
But yeah, Canada having qualified do look pretty poor compared to the other Canada teams that have come to World Cups before. They're not even on that level. They're not living up to their own standards, let alone the standards in the pool. And I think they'll be shocked by every team ranked above them. And Namibia may surprise them too. You never know.
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, so I suppose we'll move on then to Italy. And Italy, it's an interesting one for them. It's kind of a bit unfortunate because Italy have definitely improved under Conor O'Shea. They're playing 100%. much more of a brand of rugby that is acceptable in the modern era than what they were doing. They have backs now that can competently execute some plays. They put 85 points on that Russia team we were talking about it earlier on in the summer. They've definitely improved everywhere. They have a back row that's littered with young talent as well as a Parise.
Literally, Bram Stain in particular. They also have Pelledri and Negri in that back row. And obviously Parise will probably start, even though on form you wouldn't start him. But Bram Stain in particular is a guy who consistently, even when the Italian pack is getting bullied, never takes a step back, wins all of his contacts, and you just wonder, it's hard to tell, but how good is this guy?
Yeah,
he's very, very good. He's one of the key players to look out for in that team. He's a brilliant defensive line-out player.
He steals line-outs.
I've seen him play games against England, even recently when England beat them in St James's Park, and the whole rest of his team can be getting blown away. And he never takes a backward step. He never loses a contact, even against giants.
Yeah.
So he's a guy who's very exciting. There are a lot of players who are exciting. Matteo Manozzi, Jaden Hayward, the Aussie.
Jaden Hayward having the best season of his career. Yeah.
I think Tommy Allen is a fine player. Carlo Canna would be very fun to see them get the 2 10s in, Tommy and Carlo.
Yeah.
Campagnaro is very exciting. They're great. They're going to be value. They're going to put to bed, I think, those two sides beneath them.
Yeah, that's where I think they're sitting. They're obviously middle ranked in this pool, and it's just they are. This pool especially is the most illustrative of that gap we were talking about, because I think that they are comfortably better than the two sides below them. And yet I don't give them a hope of beating the two sides above them.
A Six Nations team, so that makes them tier 1, but they're probably a tier 2 team generally.
Yeah.
And like the tier 2 teams, there's that dynamic of they have improved, but other sides have improved even more.
Yeah.
And now it's not enough. It's not enough that they can pass and execute tries, which they didn't used to be able to do.
Yes.
Because now the game has moved on where you need to be able to do so much more.
Yeah.
And listen, their Alistair could see his Springboks team has turned this group into a no-hoper for them. Because the Springboks ended up qualifying as a second-ranked team, even though they are probably the finest side in the game right now. And I think we should pivot on to the box.
The box, Razzie's box. They're awesome. They are the form team coming into it, no doubt.
Unquestionably.
They have been awesome. It's been the 2-year resurrection of, as you said, the Alistair Casilla years that left them in such a dark place, so at sea, so removed from there was a sense of confusion. It was like, no, they weren't even playing Springbok rugby at that time. It was Ireland who looked more like the Springboks than them. They were not very physical, not very intimidating, passive in defence, loose on attack, terrible at receiving kickoffs. They were all over the place, and picking the wrong players, despite having a player pool that spreads across the world and feeds European rugby. And whereas Rassie now has come in and cleaned house and has had a few results go up and down for him over those 2 years. Like he's lost a few games that will annoy him, but it's all been about getting it right for this World Cup. And boy, has he! I can't cite anything he's done wrong.
I mean, you could just list through where they are now. He's picked first of all the perfect squad in terms of all of the foreign players from South Africa, which is a hell of a sight because they have so many players, and to see the best 31 of them together is always going to be a sight. But he's got them gelled. He's got a feel-good energy in the country. Everybody seemingly in South Africa, obviously South Africans would know more, but it seems like the whole country is behind them. Sia Khaleesi, their captain, is an inspirational figure.
He's an absolute
and just in terms of areas on the pitch, they have some of the best jacklers at breakdown time. Their offensive breakdown is destructive. Their offense is kind of certainly at its best very, very quick. They have excellent distributors in Faf de Klerk at 9, one of the great 9s of the game, and Andre Pollard at 10.
And Villy.
Yeah, so they can move the ball around. They like to move the ball at speed. They like to have a bit of variety. They have killer finishers on the wings, no matter who they pick. Cheslin Colby, Mapimpi, and then Kosi waiting in the wings is a phenomenal finisher as well. So you put them in space, they'll take tries. One of, if not the strongest scrum in the competition, up there with Ireland. Destructive scrummagers. Great line-out maul play. And what we haven't touched on, which is what they made their name on this year, is their defence, which is phenomenal. It's very different to what it used to be. All about this really aggressive shooting blitz. The guys in the inside are so big and strong that you can't break them down on the inside, and you try to move the ball outside.
And Lucanio Am stops you.
The greatest 13 in the game right now, Lucanio Am, will get in your face and destroy you. He makes classy reads. There's a lot of guys out there who can make good reads. He makes the best reads, and then when he gets a hold of you, like, there's no question of him missing the tackle. He doesn't just stick it. He dominates collisions.
Yes, he does.
And Lucanio Am at 13 is a crucial operator for them. As much as anybody else. In terms of where they are not maybe in terms of what might hurt them, because I've just named like all of the dynamics of rugby, and they're just
they're great at all
seemingly perfect at all of them. They're great at all of them. Where you do see the lack of the 4-year cycle and the sort of the degree to which this has been built late by Rassie over the last not even 2 years, to be honest with you.
Around a year.
His first game would have been June of last year.
There you go. So so it's been a very quick turnaround.
So indeed, and where you are seeing that weakness is just that there isn't quite the replace, like, they do have great 31 players, but there are some crucial players without whom things change. Dwayne Vermeulen at 8, they don't have a real backup. Andre Pollard at 10, they don't have a real backup. Lucanio Am, as they say, in terms of that, especially with the system, with the system that they defend with, where the wingers are so vulnerable.
Jesse Creel was the incumbent there for years and makes similar reads, but he's just not the physical presence that Am is.
Every single time this year that Jesse Creel has come off the bench for Am, instantly there's been more space in the wide channels. Instantly. So Am is crucial for them in terms of shutting down opposition attack. And so those three guys, I would say in particular,
are pretty irreplaceable.
Indeed.
But where, considering the quality they have in the tight 5 and the fact that all of them are like Malcolm Marks, probably one of, if not the best hooker in the world, but if he goes down, Bongi Mbonambi or Scott Brits
can come in.
I wouldn't worry, same within the rows. You have Eben Etzebeth, monster of a man. If he gets injured in the New Zealand game, I'm okay. Snyman's in there now, and it's like
Diager's going to get some game time.
They have awesome cover all throughout, and then the props as well, destructive props, but they have 5 of them, and they have a genuine like in Ukanya, they have a guy who can genuinely do both sides of the scrum as well, and
is in the form of his life. Making tackles like a young man out there. He makes so many tackles. So that's the box. I mean, they are as as elite as a team gets and would be surefire to top most pools, but for their opponents.
And it's their own doing. They were at sea for so long that now they ended up with the draw. Now they're in with the All Blacks, which is a rare enough sight to see the Springboks and the All Blacks in the same pool.
It's not one the All Blacks would have been thrilled.
No, they're not delighted with two.
And do you know what? The All Blacks actually initially flagged it, like back when the draw was made, the Springboks were at sea and the All Blacks were bringing them 57-0. But there was a reaction when that draw came out from a lot of All Blacks fans going, "Oh Christ, you kidding me?"
Yeah,
you know the Boks are going to be good.
They'll be fine in the World Cup
when the World Cup comes around, and that is not what they wanted. Yeah. They would have much preferred any Northern Hemisphere side to their old Springbok rivals.
True,
and they have it. But the All Blacks themselves, just obviously they're coming in as world champions, so it's a slightly different narrative because we've talked about the gap closing, which is positive for the likes of Scotland and the likes of a lot of the Northern Hemisphere teams. It's crunched up.
Yeah.
But the All Blacks have been on the other end of that spectrum of having been the dominant side to now being probably just about the best side, or in that mix. So that's a dip. Yeah. But they have a lot of quality.
Yeah, they are world champ. They're still the incumbent champions, back-to-back champions. They're going for the three-peat.
Yeah, actually, you know what? It's a dumb expression. The Crusaders went with it this year. Three-peat, don't love it.
3 in a row.
Yeah,
just
fine.
saying 3 in a row.
Fine. The three-peat is nonsense.
Hat-trick
much
of
better,
World Cups.
much better.
Okay.
Yeah, stop saying three-peat, guys.
Hashtag three-peat.
It's nonsense.
Yes. No, they'll be game for it. They do have in Bowden Barrett, whether you play him at 10 or 15, just one of the best rugby players out there at the moment. Yeah. He's undeniably awesome talent. And they do have some talent throughout the team. Like, they still have an instinct to attack space. They know, like, collectively, all 31 men in that squad kind of know where the space is and where to go with it. They have, in Sonny Bill's return, they've managed to find a bit of dynamism in their centres that they were lacking in the last couple of years.
Sonny Bill is huge for them.
Definitely, he kind of keeps the ball alive and allows for the space to be found out wide and create chances for their wingers to take. They were ruthless in cutting their wingers at the tail end of the Rugby Championship, getting the form guys in there in Sevu Reece and George Bridge, 2 Crusaders wingers, who took both jerseys grab the jerseys more than tries. They seem to grab the jersey, and I would have them as the incumbents now to go into that Springbok game in week 1.
Totally.
They need to be that ruthless kind of in selection.
One of the things that they have been developing since the Lions tour of last year is a much more physical edge, and we've complained about it, and I think it is to their detriment to the extent that they have dipped relative to the other sides, in the sense that they haven't been the same kind of attacking weapon. Yeah. They've been more of a physical force, and that's fine. They're a great physical force. Yeah. But there are a lot of other teams, including the Springboks, who are also that. Yes. And while it was very encouraging to see them get that ruthless edge back in Bledisloe 2 and dominate Australia, having been beaten by them in a soft performance the week before, to actually dominate them physically and be mean and be ruthless, and even guys like TJ Piranara just being an incredibly
he's an awesome jackling form. Yeah. He's a genuine defensive breakdown operator now. He's on the pitch.
Even guys like TJ just beating people up, and Savia as well, and even Patrick Tuipulotu in the absence of Retallick is a guy who's going to come in and be useful.
Very physical.
But they have that raw physicality. A lot of other sides do too. And what we need to see, encouraging, obviously, that they managed to rack up 92 points on Tonga. It's actually a while since I remember a tier 1 side even racking up that many points. Points. It doesn't happen at all as often.
It's tough anymore. They're only 80 minutes in a game.
Yeah, they racked up 92, and they
played with 14 men
65 minutes.
Yeah. Volunteered to take Ryan Crotty, wasn't it, off?
Yes.
To just play with 14 men for a little while.
Yeah.
Like that's some crazy levels, because like they're still, you'd be crazy to write them off.
You're not writing them off, but that's what they need is to maintain that physical edge that they have, but then also be who they are, and what separates them from the Englands and from even the South Africas and the Irelands is that ability to find tries from nothing off turnover ball.
Well, that's what was concerning us when they came in their Northern Hemisphere tour at the end of last season, where they struggled against England, played a very crazy loose kicking the ball away a lot against an England team, and then eventually escaping with the win that they kind of scarcely deserved, and then coming to Ireland to Dublin and playing a similar kind of game against a team really well suited to play against that.
Yeah.
They're probably trying to test themselves in trying to like play a Six Nations style game, but it's been something that since the Lions tour that they've been working on, like even things like Bowden Barrett kicking that drop goal under penalty advantage, and it's like fine, but why? Like why to any of that? Try for a try. And it's like going back to all those years ago when Richie McCaw was kind of sheepishly revealing that they hadn't even practiced a drop goal set at the end of the game. Like that iteration, the All Blacks drop goal was so far removed from their
you know what,
minds.
they were better. Like there was a flaw to that, and Northern Hemisphere commentators love to rail on them for it.
Yes.
Oh, the stupid All Blacks can't even kick a drop goal. And you know what? They couldn't kick a drop goal. They also won everything, always and forever.
That's the point that I'm making. Though. It's like, is that a bad sign? Maybe it's probably a drill they should have drilled, but it's not a bad sign in terms of the attitude of the team.
No.
That they just are so confident that they're better than this side and so confident in their own skill that it's like, no, just hold the ball. We'll score a try.
Yeah. So they were panicked about their lack of physicality at the Lions tour.
Yeah.
They've rectified that. They have some of the great physical players of the game. Brody Retallick, another guy in this
very physical
era
too.
of incredible locks.
Yeah.
This is the era of locks.
It is. Yeah.
And Brody Retallick in particular is one of those. Artie Savia as well can mix it with the best. So they are going to be at physical edge. And then the crucial thing is whether they can take tries. And I would err on the side of seeing Mong at 10. Barrett at 15. And Ben Smith, you know, you're in the squad, good luck, but maybe at 23, but probably not, to be honest with you.
I'd see probably at 15 against Namibia.
Exactly. He's just not been there, and Barrett at 15 is just a hell of a thing from both an offensive and defensive perspective.
Yeah, some of the defensive plays he gets off are amazing. He covers the backfield like few others, and because he just has that pace. Like, he presents an option that like looks like the out half has to kick it.
Do you know what it is with Barrett? Is actually, if you have Sonny Bill breaking up the field with offloading games, sucking in players and getting offloaded away, Moang in a distribution role and TJ in a distribution role, you can actually ease Barrett's distribution responsibilities because it's actually not the premier aspect of his game. He's a better strike runner and scorer than he is a distributor.
Yeah,
and that's even at 10. Like, his most dangerous moments are when he just goes.
Yeah,
and that's what you want, is him with a bit more space at fullback, put into space.
Yeah,
he's got a turn of pace that just shocks players, shocks defenders. They can't deal with it. He's there and he's not there.
Yeah,
and Bowden Barrett is crucial to everything that they do. And the stick that he gets is from some quarters is absolute nonsense. He is one of, if not the very best player out there in the world. And the other thing that he gives at fullback is that speed, just covers, kicks in behind. He's phenomenal.
Every kick and it looks like it's on from the 10's perspective or from the 12 or whatever, and like the chip through, drop it on the toe, and he is always there. He's the first man there.
A quarter-final against Scotland, Bowden Barrett to be at fullback, because Finn Russell would kick it all day into that space and he would cover every bit of it.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster when you say that, to be honest, because Finn would see that picture.
He would, because that's Finn's game.
Yeah.
He just sees it and goes, and Barrett would cover it.
Yeah.
In terms of who's going to win, obviously, the pool, we know what's going to happen in all the other games. The opening day, or whatever, second day of the tournament, but the real opening day of the tournament, Springboks are playing All Blacks. They're going to know, both of them are going to know the lay of the land after that opening week.
Sure, when the dust settles after that.
But who is going to win that game and who's going to top this pool? Impossible to say for me.
It is impossible to say. It's all going to be on the day.
It's going to be an incredible game.
Yeah.
Two of the great sides.
Yeah.
On the opening weekend.
I'm rooting for the Springboks, not least because I think matchup wise,
you prefer for
Ireland to play the All Blacks, because I think
statement.
It is a hell of a statement, but it's based on Ireland's kind of physicality, hold the ball approach. Kind of annoys and frustrates the All Blacks more than it would against the Springboks.
Yeah, we have seen Ireland get some plays off against the Springboks, but it wasn't the same Springboks.
No.
And to be frank, as much as I like Ireland, and we talked about them in the last pool as a real potential winner of the tournament and everything else, I don't like the idea of our boys running into that Bok defence.
No.
I don't like the idea of even the likes of Robbie Henshaw, Gary Ringrose trying to work something against Dam. It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't get anything off. I don't like the idea of even our best ball carriers, even Josh or CJ Stander or Keegan Healy running into the likes of Dwayne Vermeulen. I just don't know that they're ever going forward.
Yes.
I don't know that we're ever getting the clean ruck ball.
Whereas
and then Francois' low body position is going to take it away from us.
Whereas I can see more, I've seen more evidence that we can do it against the All Blacks in terms of Peter O'Mahony running into Kieran Reid, and then Kieran Reid's a bit broke up after all that. That's my hope. But as far as predictions are concerned, I just don't know. The Boks are the form team.
Both sides could do it.
Both sides could do it.
Both sides could do it.
Like
I've liked the fact that the Boks have been out in Japan for a while.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, my head is just telling me, and maybe this is all horseshit, and we might see, you know, that because there's so many variables that go into winning a game of rugby. You can always pick and choose your preferred things that a team's getting right and craft a narrative around that.
Yes.
But the Boks have been getting so much right all year. They've been in Japan a little longer, which from a conditioning point of view is a great shout.
Yeah.
And getting that last World Cup warm-up game against Japan in Japan, for all kinds of reasons, was the right approach for them. Not to mention the fact they had a bone to pick with Japan.
Yes, indeed.
So it suited them there as well, and they were brilliant in that game. I just... Watching them...
I'm thinking they're going to get it.
Watching them play the All Blacks, first of all, in Eden Park, but actually, of all of the games, their B-side beating Australia was great. But of all the games, their away trip to Argentina to win the Rugby Championship. Argentina are a great side in so many ways, and we will talk about them.
And they're tough in Buenos Aires.
In the next pool, and they're tough in Buenos Aires. And gee whiz, the Boks just blew them aside. Just swatted. From minute 1 to minute 80, they just had none of it.
Yeah.
Where in years gone by, Argentina had given them problems. They just were having none of it. They were winning the Rugby Championship, and that was all there was to it.
Indeed.
And they battered them 46-13 out in, it wasn't actually Buenos Aires, it was Salta.
And,
and that performance convinced me that they're the side that's getting things most right. And so for that reason, I'm going to, by the narrowest of margins, tip the Boks. But it is the toss of a coin. They are two of the great sides of the game.
Yeah, they are.
And
it's a fixture to have in week one as well.
What a fun pool! You know, what a fun pool for that reason alone, because the rest of it isn't at all dramatic.
No, not so. But what a fun pool. I suppose we'll pivot on.
We will.
Pool C, which is also dynamic. This one's actually even more fun, I think, just purely because of the three sides in it at the top. So we have England, France, Argentina, USA, Tonga.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting pool, isn't it?
I like it for a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
I even like the little tier 2 dynamic between USA and Tonga.
Both that'll be a fun game. So we'll start with that tier 2 as we've been doing. Tonga, the lowest ranked side in the pool.
Yes.
And they have been struggling this year. They have World Cup pedigree. They've been there, done that. They have a good record against France.
They have a habit in World Cups of performing above their station. They did it in 2007. They did it in 2011. Mm-hmm. They tried to do it last year, but actually just got outplayed. 4 years ago. Just got outplayed in their match to make a name for themselves against Georgia. Yeah, they just got Georgians are actually pretty great as well. Yeah, from a tier 2 perspective. They're not going in with a lot of confidence. No, they haven't got any real depth in their squad. Their distribution and attacking game isn't we haven't seen any of it. No. What we have seen is a physical side, a
good pick and go side. They can get some plays off with a rhythmic pick and jam game.
But a little like Georgia, even just to be, they're physical with the ball, but they need to be sharper on defence to make that game work.
Their line speed has been too slow. They're passive in contact, even though they're big men.
Even though it was the All Blacks, shipping 92 points isn't good. It isn't a sign of a side that's there to compete. Mm-hmm. And while they could shock us and they could show up and be their usual Rugby World Cup selves, they have the best war dance of all the island nations, which is its own intangible thing. They have an uphill task. They have incredibly tough games against the tier 1 sides.
Mm-hmm. It's also the fact that and it's a point we've made before, that if a tier 2 side wants to come in and play like Japan, they always have a chance because they're trying to score tries. They're flinging the ball around, and you never know if it clicks sticks, for 5 minutes and then you get 3 tries off, then you're in the game. But if you're a tier 2 side that tries to do your bits and pieces fundamental, play a bit of a slow physical game, you're going to be shocked when you hit an England side.
And it needs to go right for much longer.
Yeah,
that's the thing, is Japan or Fiji need to get 4 or 5 plays off, and all of a sudden you've got 28 points, and 28 points can be enough to beat anybody. Yeah. But Tonga, in the way they play, they actually need to be down in the 22 for 80 minutes. And then see where it takes them. Yeah. And they're not actually that technical and physical. I think of all the players to watch, I do like Manu, their captain. He's a good story and a great bloke, and
definitely
would be expecting him to get more plays off than just about anybody else.
They had Steve Maffey in there as well. He's a big unit. He's a bit loose as well. He's kind of similar. They're all a little loose. They're definitely big, exciting players. They can get some good plays off, but they also can look dreadful.
We haven't seen any. I would love to see it, but we haven't seen any evidence that the Tongans can mix it. Yeah. Even with the highest level of tier 2, and they've got 3 tier 1 sides in their pool.
Yeah, that's what the tough ask is. But as we've said with these tier 2 sides, they have a cup final and it's against the US.
Yeah.
The US similar position. The USA are a very physical tier 2 side as well.
Yeah.
Not as devastating as they should be out wide. Like, they don't have as much speed on the wing as they should.
Crucially, they have Mike Teo back from injury. He did not play in the PNC, and he is a great winger. Yeah. Straight into the starting team for me. Himself and Blaine Scully. That's a good little dynamic of a classy try-scoring winger and your sort of leader, captain, fundamentals man.
Yeah. And they do have Inaj McGinty, a really quality kind of 10 who's been playing some proper rugby in Sale, playing with Faf, getting some good experience. He looked very, very assured in even the Japan game that they lost. He was looking like a difference maker until he actually picked up a niggle and injury.
It's nice to see a guy who's accustomed to playing high-level professional rugby at 10 for one of these tier 2 sides, because it does change things. Yeah. And Aj is definitely that guy. Yeah. They're physical up front. They have big man Joe Taufete'e with an incredible try-scoring record.
Yeah, he's ludicrous.
Playing at hooker, and he's obviously massive. It represents a huge opportunity, perhaps more so than for any tier 2 team for the USA, because they've just started up professional rugby over there. Yes. It's getting momentum, it's going off the ground. More than any other nation, there are going to be big wallets watching with interest what happens in this World Cup. And it represents a real opportunity. If the US can look good, and if they can get a bit of momentum, if they can crack their way into some mainstream publications over there in terms of reporting on it, and people are paying attention to it, that requires putting it up to these tier 1 sides, swatting Tonga aside, and maybe even getting a shock. And their side is almost, I think, entirely professional. Yeah, they have some very, very handy players. They have a very good line-out drive. They have experience like Paul Asike, Ben Landry. Those guys have been there forever. If they can get things off and look good, the game has the capacity to take off over there, because
definitely
if it captures the imagination of investors over there and big wallets over there, money will flood into the game.
They need a Japan style victory over Argentina or France.
Yes, that would be huge. That would be huge. That is exactly what they're going for.
A little spark to ignite them. But I think in terms of their development, they are not quite there to compete, and it's similar to the point we were making. They don't play that fast and loose game that leaves it more likely that they'll get that way.
Yeah, that's where you really are hoping for Mikey Teo to shake that up.
Yes,
to be the spark, because the spark wasn't quite there. As good as they were in the PNC, the spark.
They were very good. They were tidy. They're an impressively well drilled tier 2 side.
Oh yeah.
And they do they do focus on set piece. So their scrum and line out tends to be quite technical. Scrum
Maul in particular is
Maul is their best weapon. Their scrum can sometimes falter because they sometimes get their height a bit wrong. I can remember now as well. They're a little bit loose in that area, but they are a very physical side. I'm sure they came to Dublin and they're man for man. They're big and strong.
Totally.
So they'll have no fear of anyone. Yeah. But it's whether they can live with the pace that some of these sides will put on them, and whether they can defend and stop the likes of Argentina or France,
exactly.
who are devastating.
It's like you need things to go right. You want to catch an Argentinian team that are a little cold, that aren't quite functioning in terms of their set piece and aren't fronting up front in the way that they would hope to. And then that's a team the USA can catch. But sure, there was all those narratives the last time out. I remember Argentina had Georgia in their group. Yeah. And while we didn't have the podcast at the time, I was saying, like, Georgia, they could cause them some problems up front. But Argentina were just in a different kind of mood. Yeah. They were just not having it.
And Argentina at World Cups rarely have it.
Yeah, indeed. And they were just, actually we'll just put 60 points on Georgia with unbelievable offloading and paint a picture for that Georgian defence that they have never seen. Yeah. It's that good. Yeah. And if they catch Argentina in that kind of mood, it's one of these intangibles where they aren't in full control of the USA. If they catch one of these guys off form, they can make things happen. If these tier 1 sides hit their form, they are going to put them aside. Yes. And I guess it's a good chance they will see off, I think.
I think so. I think they will. Yeah. But I think they'll be shocked by England.
Oh God, everybody's going to be shocked by England. Yeah. Argentina and France, and they will be shocked by England.
Yeah, but it's just like England play an extreme version of what the USA. They do everything the USA are trying to do, but so much better. And
Madge McGinty is great, but we have
Owen Farrell,
you know.
It's like, you know.
Cameron Dolan, he gets some things off. Here's Billy Vunipola.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, it's like just an upgrade across the board. So, but yeah, we'll leave England to the last. We'll move on to Argentina, who are, curiously, I was checking out, he's ranked 11th in the world.
Yeah, it's nonsense. The world rankings, they have their flaws. I mean, people rail on them. They have two big flaws. You know, it's not that big a deal. We're not going to spend much time on it.
No.
But
Italy
they're
and
big.
Argentina.
They're big flaws that they don't take into account any points differentials in matches above 16.
Yeah.
So a 32-16 victory is the same points up and down as Ireland suffered a 57-15 defeat, which helped Ireland be top of the table. And then the other thing that it does is it just hurts Italy and Argentina in particular, who are just consistently only playing sides above their level.
Yeah.
So they just don't get a chance to build up those points. But they are not the 11th best side in the world.
No,
they are considerably lower down the list than that.
Yes, they're a tier 1 side. And despite the point is they're coming in with an 0-4 record for the year.
It's true.
But they're still a very dangerous side. The Jaguares obviously got as far as the final of Super Rugby for the first time ever, so there's optimism there. They can play a very fast attacking style. The concern I have for them is that for the first time really ever that I can remember, they're going to a World Cup with a scrum that can't function against top scrum. They have not managed to lock down a scrum even once. They were struggling with the Aussies.
Yeah, they got rid of Herrera. I mean, Juan Figallo is the hope.
You can sometimes stand up. Yeah,
forgot to touch on Lamasatele with the USA as well. Yeah, Lamasatele, the other Saracens tight end,
that's true.
Is huge for them, and in terms of their scrum, he hasn't played for them all year. So that's just a point on the US.
Yeah.
He could lock down their scrum for them, but obviously, Juan Figallo being their only hope at tight head. I actually think one of the crucial players for Argentina, we'll talk about their winning conditions in a moment, but just in terms of getting their defence right, is Pablo Matera.
Yeah.
Pablo Matera is a very, very physical guy. He has the potential to be a World Cup bolter in terms of a guy who just makes a name for himself.
He makes plays after play.
All of the skills, and was about the only guy making defensive plays for them all season. And if he can become the leader of that pack and get other guys like Guido Petty along with him and Otego Decio, let's make big dominant tackles and let's not be defensively soft.
Yes.
That's crucial.
Yeah.
And if they can get that going, their offense can mix it with anybody.
Yeah.
They have phenomenal players. Like Sanchez on his day is outstanding. And then in the back three, Buffelli is one of the top fullbacks around these days.
He's grown into
himself. Still aging like a fine wine, another lovely player.
Yeah.
And then on the wing you have your options. You could
Delguy,
Mojano, Moroni if he doesn't play in the centre.
Yes,
I'd love to see Delguy get a go. He hasn't played all year. Last year he was
awesome.
phenomenal.
Their wingers are awesome, and then like Sanchez as well, an awesome operator from 10 when he's in form. I know you're not as huge a fan of Kubeli from 9.
No, I'm not a fan of Kubeli. I'd like to see Azcura start, but I think Kubeli will.
Yes,
too slow,
you say, for a fast and loose Argentina team that want to attack through the wings.
Yes.
No, their back row is very impressive. I think they do have their physical second rows. Lavanini annoys me. He annoys you too because he tends to give away crazy penalties needlessly.
He's a problem for them. He could end up hurting them in terms of penalties conceded.
Yeah. He has a very bad disciplinary track record.
He does.
Constantly seems to pop up with loose lead of face.
But at their best, as we saw from the Jaguares in Super Rugby earlier in the year, they are a very fun team. They do hunt tries.
They exist on a different level in the World Cup to the rest of the World Cup cycle as well. They turn up for World Cups like very few other teams, and sure Ireland know that intimately.
Yeah, indeed. When they get the bit between their teeth, they do find play after play after play. One thing that they do is just it is less we fundamentally attack space, like we were talking about Japan and what they do. They like as a religion just attack space wherever the space is. We're attacking there.
Yeah,
no questions asked. Argentina aren't actually quite like that.
No,
Sanchez
let's attack wide.
Yeah, it's wide. It's wide. It's get the ball into the hands of the wingers regardless of who's marking them or what's going on, and it can be great. A lot of sides defend narrow. A lot of sides are very silly and defend narrow.
They can definitely catch Six Nations defences off very easily with that kind of
nonsense. And they've got 2 of them in the pool.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a positive sign. But in terms of how you beat them, just hold your width.
Hold your width and shoot.
And shoot. You shoot, get into those passing lanes as well.
As illustrated by Australia 4 years ago. If you shoot a little bit, you're going to pick off some intercepts. You're going to shut them down fundamentally. The fact that they don't have the scrum as the massively offensive set piece it used to be for Argentina, like a traditional Argentinian strength. The fact that that's so frail, I think, will be their undoing. I think they're rightly third ranked in whatever about the 11 world rankings things. I think they're rightly below England and France. Even though France have been floundersome for 4 years, I still would have them below purely on set.
That's actually an interesting, to go back to our talking point, our pre-tournament talking point, in terms of does the 4-year cycle matter?
Not if you're France.
Argentina have been building for 4 years. They've been getting better and better. They obviously were great in the last World Cup, but they've had more rugby championship seasons. They've had the Jaguares enter Super Rugby, develop in Super Rugby, get to a Super Rugby final. It has been this gradual progression of getting more and more squad players, getting Buffelli looking as sharp as you've ever looked, finding a world even player in Pablo Matera, where France have been, just floundering, and this guy's in, and Bastro's captain, now he's dropped, now he's captain again, and it's just been a nonsense for 4 years up until this year, where you've seen Galtier come in, and the selection solidly of great offensive young guys.
Well, they've been invigorated by Toulouse.
Yeah,
Toulouse has risen this year and come back and
Clermont as well, because they've got Fofana and Lopez and Penaud. But what they've done is selected a backline in particular of young guys who are built in the model of old school French players who throw offloads, who have fun, who just attack, who flood little narrow channels full of players, and you could back them to execute a 3-on-2 in a phone box. They love their little offloading game. They pick intelligent lines. Damien Penaud is one of the great wingers of the world right now.
He is.
Ruthless player.
Potential top try scorer. He's awesome. Keep scoring for them. France are an anomaly in terms of World Cups. They will be, in terms of that point we were making about World Cup cycles, them and the Aussies are best primed to buck that trend, because they're just they're a flowy team. They love a momentum. Sure, even thinking of, they axed Lièvremont in mid tournament and then
kept him on as lame duck,
but they were coaching themselves, players, and they went out and made a final and probably should have won the final. And it's like they're that kind of intangible team and they similarly, they have such a playing pool. They're such a big country that they can be getting it wrong for longer than the likes of Ireland or Wales or New Zealand, where everything has to be very well managed, well drilled to get the most out of your resources. They have so many resources that they can afford to flounder them around and get it wrong for a while. They just have to be right for 6 weeks, 7 games in a row, and try and win a World Cup. And they do have World Cup pedigree. They have a history in the tournament. They've reached finals before. They know what it takes to string some plays together. They play broadly an attacking kind of game. They're a little loose on defence. They're pretty slow on defence. Some of their big forwards are a bit lazy around the corner.
There's a big question mark over how good their pack is and how good their defence is. And they don't, for all of that, 2011 parallels, they don't have a guy like Dusautoir.
No, they don't. They don't have out-and-out bald stealers.
No.
Which affects
Camille Shah, I guess, would be the closest.
But he's not even starting.
He may be. Garrado's getting on.
He is. I know.
Shah has been great. And Shah at hooker is a big... dynamic, adds a bit of dynamism to the team.
Powerful scrummager too.
Itoria too. The scrum is huge for them, and it's the thing the pack are most useful at.
It's the thing I think that separates them from Argentina. I think they're two teams on a very similar level. I think they could play each other 100 times and it would be 50-50, 52-48. They're close enough, but the fact that the French have a scrum that they go to as a weapon, not like that they're struggling to keep it tight at all. They scrum for penalties. There's a tradition of it in the top couture as well. They're there to then have options. They've left Danny Priso off the plane.
That's Danny Priso off the plane. Exactly.
And they still have supreme scrummagers there.
They've great scrummagers. Nicolas Mas at tight head as well.
Awesome.
A very, very capable guy. They're going to attack that scrum. I think it could also become about just which backline is hot. France, very similar to Argentina, best chances to keep the ball quick and to make the game about your attack. And that's what they're going to be hoping to do against Argentina on that opening day. And it'll be curious. I mean, is the game about the French attack, or is it about the Argentinian wingers, or is it about Pablo Matera potentially, or the French scrum?
There are winning conditions for both. It's going to be a really, really good contest because they both play such a fun brand. But I think those are the two that are fighting for second place in the pool and a quarter final. Because I think both of them are going to lose to England.
Probably.
England are looking awesome. They're the other argument for the form team coming in. The Springboks, I think, are the form team.
Yes.
But this England side are riding a wave of momentum and confidence coming off a shellacking
of
Wales, and then obviously losing the return fixture against Wales, but then thumping Ireland in Twickenham. And then putting a score on Italy for the fans in St James's Park. Not conceding a point. They're very well primed. They know exactly what they're doing. They're playing a very physical game. They have game breakers littered throughout the team.
Especially in that pack. They have Vunipola, Itoje and other Vunipola in that pack are just a very, very good argument for being the best in the world in those positions. We talked about James Ryan in the context of Ireland. Itoje's a bit of a guy like that, where he's just one of the great players of the world who continues to influence games.
And then behind him, they have between Cruz, Launchbury and Courtney Laws, they have some elite locks. Yeah. They're up there with South Africa in terms of really elite second row division.
They play a bruisingly physical game. They look to batter teams, and crucially what they do is they play it at breakneck speed.
Yes.
They play really, really quick, both sides of the ball. They shoot up in defence and look to physically dominate, and then they shoot through an attack and look to physically dominate. And that's what they do. And then actually outside of that, when they get that go forward, they have a surprising amount, maybe not surprising, but they have a great amount of subtlety to their distribution game.
Their passing game's great. Passing game has always been great, really, under Eddie Jones.
And Owen Farrell in particular is one of the great 10s of the world. They like to move teams around. They have all kinds of options.
They have a monster in Tuilagi in the midfield who's tough to contain.
They'll switch the play and go for kicks to the blind side to Johnny May. They'll attack where the space is, but they'll manipulate the space as well. They'll have plans to make space in certain places. They'll get wingers at the bottom of rucks and then kick it to their wing. They're well coached and well drilled in attack. One of the things that I would say about them is that because they play at such breakneck speed, they do try to achieve this sort of flow state, which when it's in flux is just an incredible thing to watch. I mean, we've seen it over the years. Even way back when Lancaster was in charge of them, they hit that flow state against the All Blacks and put 38-14 or whatever it was in that game. Incredible victory over one of the great All Black sides.
Yes.
Better than this All Black side.
Probably.
And they stuffed them because they achieved that flow state. And you saw them put 57 points on Ireland, because when they hit it, they just don't stop.
Yeah, it's true.
But I think in Twickenham this year, in the Calcutta Cup, you saw an indication of where it can go wrong. They were playing at that breakneck speed. They racked up a 38-point lead against the Scots, and then they lost a bit of momentum, and then the Scots scored a try, and then the Scots scored another try,
and then they just passed through an intercept, and another try,
and then they just could not get it back, because they're just still trying to play at pace, and they're still constantly we have one speed that we move at, and they can't actually settle it down and actually see a win home when they're in the lead.
They're poor at adjusting on pitch. They're poor collectively at switching it up when it's going wrong. They do have in terms of this 4-year cycle point, if they're to not go well, I still think they're good for topping their group, but if they're to lose in the knockout stage, then it's not going to be their World Cup. The things that'll come back to haunt them are exactly that. They go long periods of games without scoring, like the second half in Scotland, like the second half in the first game against South Africa in that tour 2 years ago. It's happened against Wales in the Six Nations as well, where they just go to near 40 to 60 minute blocks without registering a point.
And that's what happens when they just get out of that state that they like to be in.
And they also have a bit of a niggling problem with discipline, which is not something unique to this England team. It's actually a recurring theme with English rugby, to be honest. But when they're not going their way and when they're not on top in collisions, they have some players in there who are just prone to give away crazy penalties, needless penalties.
There's a risk involved there. They've picked Kyle Sinclair, who's become a little bit undeniable in the sense that he's
very skillful,
very skillful, extremely skillful, and physical, and a very good scrummager, ball carrier, passer for football. But the guy has very poor temperament, and it could come back to bite them. Because your tight head prop getting yellow carded in a crucial quarter final is game changing. Or a semi final if it's against the All Blacks. That's it, a guy's in the bin. Oh no, there go 3 tries, and that's our World Cup over. It happens. So I think they've a little looseness in 1 or 2 areas of where it can go wrong for them, but they've rectified some of them. They used to have poor centres. Now their centres are one of their great strengths in Slade and Tuilagi. Likewise, their flankers. Found 2 incredible breakdown guys in Curry and Underhill. So I mean, there's a lot to like about it
for sure. And despite they are still making it the fact that Alex Good isn't there, still a bit of a questionable call. Cipriani as well as backup.
Oh, yeah.
There are still some mistakes, but England have such a wealth of talent that they can afford to make mistakes like that. But also the way this team is oriented and the way it's set up, like I know he values Elliot Daly's left boot from fullback and such. Henry Slade's left boot from outside centre, or you can do the Ford Farrell option with Tuilagi at 13. So they have a load of options, but they're all fast and physical, and it's just a very English version of rugby that he's playing, and Eddie Jones is great at that when he's coaching a team, honing in on an identity for them and sticking to that, and this England team have done that, so I would back them to top that pool and get out of it, and I think then it's up in the air. They definitely have the capacity to go all the way. They're one of the big strong favourites for this tournament.
Yes, for sure. And I think in terms of the predictions of that pool, we think England will top it. France against Argentina, opening day of the tournament, could go either way.
I'm gonna say France.
Argentina do have that history. They played each other on the opening day of the tournament in 2007 on Paris, and Argentina stuffed them. But it was about our Argentina side, Pichot and a scrum, and Hernandez.
That's a big difference already. If this Argentina team had Pichot and a scrum,
then I'd be
backing them. You know,
But France maybe. I'm optimistic about France. They have some great players. Yeah, but it's going to be tight.
Definitely. But it'll be a good one. I think they both play entertaining.
And everybody to see off the US
and Tonga.
Well, obviously Tonga.
I think the US to see off Tonga as well.
Oh yeah,
is the other one. But I suppose we'll move on then to Pool D, the final pool, which is Pool D, and it's Pool D for Pool of Death, because it is the Pool of Death.
Everybody's been calling Pool C the Pool of Death, but this is great because it has two of the top three tier 2 sides.
That's what's interesting about it.
And two sort of potentially somewhat flaky tier 1 sides.
Yes.
It's not like it's All Blacks South Africa, Fiji, Georgia. No. It's Wales, Australia, Fiji, Georgia.
Yeah.
And that's got an interesting flavour to it. We will start just by giving a mention to the unlucky boys at the bottom.
Poor Uruguay, who are a team we watched them earlier in the year in the Americas Rugby Championship. They're an exciting tier 2 side. They similar to what we've been saying about all tier 2 sides. You have more of a chance if you're throwing the ball around and trying to score tries than if you're trying to tighten up and play a bits and pieces game like that. They do throw it around. They look downright Argentinian when they're in flow.
They look very similar.
Yeah, fast and quick. Well, quick and just accurate with their passing game.
Yeah.
What they are also is small. Man for man, they're tiny. Like they got bullied by the Brazilian scrum in the Americas Championship.
The Brazilian scrum was a little viral.
It was a little hit from that championship. They had a good scrum at tier 2 level, but like Georgia,
Georgia being their closest rival in terms of team they could compete with, it's a bad look.
Yeah,
I mean they're gonna as we say, there are levels to this game.
Yeah,
there are. If you put there's obviously Irish domestic championships. If you put one of the sides from the All-Irish League into the Pro 14 for a couple of games, they would be shocked.
Yes.
It's another level.
Yeah, it's the same way when you take someone from the Pro 14 and chuck them in the Champions Cup, they're shocked.
And
it's then similarly, the Champions Cup up to the Six Nations, shocking as well.
And this is the highest level. These are not just tier 1 sides, these are tier 1 sides that are primed and ready and conditioned to peak right now against you.
Yes.
You little Uruguayan man.
Yes.
And guys are going to be playing for their places in quarterfinals. Georgians playing for pride, perhaps if things go wrong for Georgia, maybe their only win of the tournament.
Could potentially be.
Fiji are going to be looking to throw the ball around and do Fijian things like they always do, and will doubtless do them against Uruguay.
Yes.
It's a horrible matchup for them. But you know what? They're a nation on the rise. They're going there to learn it. They're going there to have fun.
Yeah, they've earned their right there. They qualified.
They're
going
to experience it. They are here to take part as opposed to take over.
Yes.
They are there to enjoy the experience and hopefully get a few plays off.
Yeah.
And learn. But
I'd back them to score 1 or 2 tries.
But they're going to be shocked by
the
physicality
around that group. Yeah, because it is.
Even Fiji are physical.
Exactly. They've worked on scrum time and
Kunatani is going to just be perping guys out of the way. I mean, it's a grim picture for Uruguay, but they're there to have fun.
Yeah, and to be honest, they're adding good colour to this group because they play in good style.
They do
really effortlessly good to watch. So I think even all the game,
Georgia on their toes.
Yeah, exactly. May catch them out if they can grab an early try against Georgia. They'll make it nervy.
It's not going to be something Georgia will want. Anyway.
No, for sure. But I suppose we'll move on to the Leilos then, Georgia, who we've been.
They're my second team.
We're champions of them on this podcast. We love Georgia, love the way they play. They're such an interesting picture because like everyone else believes in quick ruck ball, whereas Georgia believe in slow, methodical ruck ball.
I love the curious picture that Georgia paint. It's hilarious because they so rarely get to play the top teams,
Yeah.
and it just has tended to take a very similar tier 1 v tier 2 picture, because as I say, there are levels to this game,
Yeah.
and they're playing at a lower level consistently, which is frustrating.
But they're also
for them.
consistently
Yeah,
romping
but
through
the
that
degree
lower
to
level.
which they have coloured that Rugby Europe Championship
Yes.
and made all the other sides in that championship submit to their slow will
Yes.
is it's been a fantastic look. It's their own kind of All Black dominance that looks so different to how other teams who are dominant in tournaments make them look.
Yeah.
They just physically own teams. They make the game happen in the opposition 22, and then it's slow, and they have one of the great scrums in World Rugby.
Yeah.
Period.
They have a tier 1 scrum. They have.
No, it's not a tier 1 scrum. It's one of the great scrums in World Rugby.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. It's above just being a tier 1 scrum.
Yeah.
It can shock some tier 1 sides. Like Scotty Seo from Australia, who's a very good scrummager, is going to have his hands full. The
Yes.
Welsh props who are floundering for form, they're going to have a handful
Yeah.
in the scrum.
It's
This-
everywhere else that lets them down, really.
Well, yeah, they're physically up for it.
Yeah.
When they get down into the opposition 22, and we saw this a little bit against Scotland in their warm-ups, you got a little insight into the picture that they're trying to paint.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get down into the opposition 22 and have the ball, and then make it slow and suck the oxygen out of their opponents,
Yeah.
and very slowly build their way to a try by physically dominating teams.
Yeah.
And they are physically dominant. Once the contact happens, they're very, very strong.
Yeah.
Very strong guys.
They're
Very
all
elite-
wrestlers, yeah.
Yeah, elite strength.
Yeah.
But I think in order to make that game work, they have a couple of missing links. They have obviously a less than stellar kicking game. We saw some improvements on it in Murrayfield.
Yes.
I actually think their fullback Soso Matiashvili, who got a good few plays off in Murrayfield, is pretty crucial to what
Yes,
they do.
he
He's
is,
a good
yeah.
counter-attacker. He's got a good boot on him. He needs to but he has had some soft moments as well. He needs to be in form. We need to see the best.
Him and Lobzanidze as well from
Yeah.
9 needs to be kicking
Yeah.
better than he had been.
No, indeed.
Certainly in Tbilisi, he
And-
was the only kicking option
Yeah.
they explored, and he kicked loosely. And Scotland
Yeah.
are going to eat that up.
And Tato Absendadze as well. They to be honest with you, I don't think they should be kicking off 9 much at all. I
Yeah.
think it should be Tato Absendadze and Matiashvili doing that kicking for them.
Mhm.
But they need to put themselves down in the opposition half in order to get it to work.
Yeah.
And then they need sharper hands in terms of sloppy knock-ons or no, this group is too good.
Yeah.
And then defensively they need to be stronger.
Yeah.
That's to make a physical game work. And actually, once the tackle happens, they're great.
Mm.
You know, once they get a hold of a guy, they pick him up and they throw him
Ragdoll
backwards.
him,
Doesn't
yeah,
matter
yeah.
who he is.
Yeah.
But in terms of their spacing and their line
And
speed,
even some of their defensive breakdowning, they don't harry and harass like what you see Wales do or something.
Yes.
They don't get their hands in there and make it messy and slow so that they can aid their line
Yeah.
speed. So yeah, there are, you're right in saying, a few missing links that you would have liked to see. And I think, just in this 4-year cycle, I would have loved to have seen maybe like a world-class 10 emerge for them,
yeah.
so that they can play some proper 10-man rugby a la Munster 08 kind of vibes.
This is it. Their front row is obviously crucial. It's going to be great. Their back row is going to be the making or breaking of it.
Mhm.
Becca Gorgadze is I should say, is a very good player at 8. Has been there for them forever.
Mhm.
It's a massive shame that they lost their barnstorming number 7, who was their form back rower.
Yes.
But they have Giorgadze, who's a very useful operator at 6, and Mamuka Gorgadze,
The return
who's come back
Godzilla.
and is exactly what you're describing, a veteran who harries at the breakdown
Yeah.
and gets steals, and
Yeah.
that's huge. Like,
Yeah.
more than his ball carrying game. The young
That's-
lads can ball carry.
Yeah.
You used to be the ball carrying guy. Get in the breakdown.
Yeah.
Get in the breakdown and harry.
Make it
Make
awkward.
it slow.
Yeah.
That's Mamuka's job.
Yeah.
And if you can see that picture, that's where the signs of the Georgian victories come from.
This
And,
is it, yeah.
like, they've a side that's been building. They're one of the top 3 tier 2 sides. They're going to be infinitely frustrated by the fact that floundering Fiji form left them qualifying as a 4th seed instead of what they should have been, a 3rd seed.
Yes.
And then they inevitably drew them. But regardless, not automatically qualifying for the World Cup would feel like a step back for them.
It would, yeah. That's
So-
why their cup final is against Fiji.
Yeah, well, I think they're gonna give it a go against everyone.
Oh, they will. They'll definitely dominate the scrum. They
Yeah.
have the best scrum in the pool.
Yeah.
They do. But it's everywhere else, and it's the fact that they can't. They're similar to Ireland. Like, when teams go ahead of them, it takes them so long to score.
Yeah.
That they just, like, it's.
Oh no,
like,
it's less. Like they have to own the game for longer. They have to own the.
It's the same point you were making. If you're a tier 2 side and you're going to try and play it slow, but like Georgia are the best at that at tier 2
because
level.
they're not going to be shocked by the physicality of tier 1
because they are
sides.
based on it. They're a physical team.
Yeah.
They're based in Lalo, their national game, where it's like no kicking, no passing, just run into each other and we'll wrestle.
Yeah. But unlike the US, they're not going to be shocked by the physicality team. Sure, they've trained with the English pack.
Yes.
So they're well used to the physicality. It's actually the speed that's likely to shock them.
That's what catches them out more than anything. It does, and it. I think it's right that we have them 4 rather than 3, even though I think the ranking wise they're the other way around. It's just in my head, the winning conditions for them are such that they're like it's less likely that they manage to do it for longer. The dry track
doesn't suit them. The humidity doesn't suit them.
Exactly.
It's a Japan is a Pacific Island nation, and so is Fiji. And Georgia's in the middle of Asia, or the Asian European border.
It's pretty much on that border.
So it's like just mid-continent, very different from. They do have hot weather over there, but very different from a Pacific Island nation and a longer way to travel. And hotter conditions for an attritional side is never what you want to see.
No. So all of it's not really coming up Georgia for this year, despite us being really optimistic.
Their opening day against Wales. This pool more than any is so tough to predict because I think legitimately that on their day, like we were talking about with these tier 2 sides, is that they need more stuff to happen for them. It's less in their hands. They do need to catch teams off guard. But on their day, Georgia can beat Fiji, Georgia can beat Wales, and Georgia can beat Australia. And, people will scoff at that, but it's true.
The last time Georgia played Wales, they pretty much beat... Well, they should have won. They were over the line. There was arguments for penalty try.
Yeah, near beat them in Cardiff. Australia can be flaky at the best of times and can be physically beaten up by big teams.
Definitely at scrum time as well, can struggle sometimes.
Georgia are more than likely going to lose all 3 of those games, but could win them.
Yeah.
And that's why this group is so fun.
That's
what makes this group so cool. Not to mention the fact that this tier 2 clash between Fiji and Georgia, as we pivot into Fiji, is one of the great clashes of styles that you can get in a game of rugby.
2 teams that are of a similar caliber but couldn't be playing the game any more differently than each other. Like Fiji's just allergic to rucks, don't want to see a ruck at all if they can help it, just want to keep the ball alive and move it around.
If you're watching this video and you made it this far and you're of the northern hemisphere and you've read one of these articles which is like rugby's gotten boring because all the teams look the same, show them Fiji against Georgia. Show them Fiji and Georgia, the 2 sides that just could not see the game more differently. For Fiji, John McKee has made them street smart. They have a better defence than they used to. As you said,
set piece,
working on their set piece. But they're what they're looking to get going is the sexy backs, and not to mention actually the sexy loose forwards. Nakarawa is practically a loose forward. Kunatani at 7, what a find! Phenomenon.
And they have choices. You have Yato. You have
Viliami Mata is going to be at 8. He was one of the stars of European rugby this year.
Was.
He's a great loose player.
Yeah.
And then the back line, oh my days. Botti and Radradra in the centre, Josh Tuisova, Vitakani in such good form. Who knows what they're going to do on the left? Give Patrick Osborne a run out. Maybe go for Nakosi. Gonova, what a player.
What a player to maybe miss out on the train,
They can offload, they run great lines, they attack, they attack, like a lot of other teams, they attack, but less like Japan and Argentina. It's not raw speed, it is speed when it gets going, but it's this lovely combination of physicality, crazy offloads and angle running.
Yeah, well, it's intuitive.
And footwork.
It's intuitive play. Like they all run great support lines because they're all expecting the offload. Yeah. So they're just on a wavelength that's fundamentally different to what Georgia is. But most teams as well. Like
no side can offload like them.
No, they create things that are a picture you don't see in other rugby games, and they tend to show that picture at the World Cup. They're another one who has World Cup pedigree. Obviously, that great win against Wales. They've been to a quarterfinal before. They are a consummate rugby nation. This is their national sport. They are in the sevens game. Champions. They're Olympics champions, so they'll have no fear of the world stage. They know that they can compete in this rugby game on the world stage, and I think there's every reason for them to go into this very, very confident, especially based off things like the win in France at the end of last year. Awesome for them because it was such a defensive display, which is traditionally not a strength of theirs, but they've improved.
Developed a solid halfback pairing. Whoever they go for at 9, it's actually quite tight. I think they'll go for Frank Lamani.
Lamani seems to be the incumbent, but they do have
Sinioli and Madawalu. Madawalu could be a good benchman.
I like him as a 21 kind of option. He's good, and he does cover wing as well.
Vola is getting better and better, has benefited from his time in Racing significantly with Finn Russell.
Yeah. Racing do play a kind of vaguely Fijian style as well. They're pretty loose, they throw it around.
Have Fijians on their team, Vakatawa.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that element to them. They are more polished, they are more structured, but their best hope is to mix it up and make things happen on offense and catch teams out. Radradra, I mean, mentioned him before, one of the most exciting players in the game right now.
He's awesome. He's very, very tough to stop. It's very rarely you see him lose contact.
Neither James O'Connor nor Jonathan Davis are going to enjoy their afternoon lining up opposite him.
No,
that's for sure.
No, he's an absolute monster. He was in rugby league for years as well. He switched. He's just one of those supreme talents, and he looks, when he's in the mood to get things going, he just gets things going. And you saw that. Which PNC game was it? It was one of their last ones that he played. I can't remember because they were kind of keeping him under cotton wool for a while. But when he did kick out, it was just wonderful to see him take it to the line and then just effortlessly get over the gain line, but then also get the hands free and get something out. He is such a good
inevitably,
and he's tough. He's world class, and there are world class operators throughout. Because as we'd said in one of our previews for one of the Fiji games early in the year, they're one of those teams where all their players are playing professional rugby mostly in Europe, but also in Super Rugby. But at that, not only are they playing professional rugby, they tend to be the talisman standout playmakers in the teams they're in. You're looking at Mata in Edinburgh. He was the spark that turned them from quite a bludgeoning kind of physical direct team to one that can make stuff happen out of nowhere.
One of their main distributors.
Exactly, and that's the same. Like Yato in Claremont is a great operator for them as well. Like they're
Nakarawa for Racing.
It's
constant through them. Like they have playmakers. They actually have pretty good strip men as well. Men who can steal the ball in the contact. So they're much more polished all around the park than they were, and they have that same attacking flair, if not even a little better than they always had. So hugely optimistic time for Fiji. They've obviously been sort of, off the back burner since the PNC played one game against Tonga. But they're now going into this.
They got a bit of a hit of confidence. The Japan
for.
Game probably hit them a little bit hard as far as confidence was concerned, and then in their next game they were kind of forcing it a little bit against Canada and probably didn't put as good a showing in as they ought to have. But the games against the Maori All Blacks will stand to them as well. They got that win in Suva, that was awesome. That going back to that French display where it's all based on defence. Yeah, they have a lot of reasons to be polished and confident.
With Tier 1.
They can compete with Tier 1. Their dream will be the quarterfinal. But their goal and mission first and foremost is to secure third place at the very least and get that automatic qualification that they didn't get last time. Which means the Georgia game's huge.
Yeah, they're flowy fucks though. They're not going to be singling out one game.
No,
they're just going to be playing.
They're
just going to be playing footy.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
They always have that great habit of even if they're 40 points to 0 down, it's like space, try.
Yeah, they'll just go for they don't they don't really. Actually, I was going to say that, but actually, in the Japan game, you actually did see them get rattled by being behind a bit more because that's what comes with expectation.
Yes.
I remember Naya Salevu in a 13 for them in place of Radradra losing the plot entirely.
Yes.
So they actually they have put a little more pressure on themselves to be at that level. John McKee has raised the standards for them. But yes, they're going to be playing the game. They're going to be looking to beat everybody. They're going to want to because they don't know what kind of form they're going to meet Wales in or Australia in.
Yeah.
And they know that if they do meet any of those sides in bad form, they can win.
Yeah.
So this isn't a case of we target some games, we target others. Like they're not going to be like, we'll focus so much on the Georgia game and then lose by Australia by 5 points and be like, damn, we should have won that game. Where were we? They're going to be going for all of these games.
They will.
They're going to be going for 4 wins on the map because they can compete.
Yes, they can. They have world class players. Their squad is as good as anyone's. And I'm optimistic for their chances. I really am. I think they have a good chance of escaping this pool.
They're up there. They have the history.
They're more so than Georgia. They have that well to go to where it's like, hang on, we've beaten Wales before in the pool stage and got out of the group. And actually, that's an interesting stat. Is the last time that Australia, Wales and Fiji were in the pool together was in 2011. 2007, sorry. And it was Australia and Fiji that got out of that pool.
That's right.
Wales lost it.
That's right. And Fiji put it up to South Africa, the eventual winners of the tournament, in that quarter-final as well.
Yeah. Don't sleep on the Fijians. Not that you ever would.
Don't sleep on the Fijians. Most talented men in the game.
Yeah. But we'll move on then to the Wallabies.
We will.
The Wallabies, who are currently, like they've been floundering a wee bit in this. If you're talking 4-year cycles, then they're the no hopers. But
Yeah.
We're not talking 4-year cycles, we're talking wallabies, and we're talking World Cup wallabies, and that has pedigree and history to it.
They found a little something. You know, they found actually in James O'Connor, who seems to be in great form and is playing like a really traditional 13, really great link man and a good offloader of the pill, with good vision. And then they have like a barnstorming, in-form, classy inside centre in Karevi.
Yes. They also have a like-for-like support, because for the 13 in Adam Ashley Cooper, who played against Samoa, will play against probably one or two of the tier 2 sides below them. So they're balanced to their centres. He's actually, if anything, much improved since the forced retirement of Folau, because too much of their game was accommodating Kirtley by putting him at 12, but also accommodating Folau at 15. Whereas now that Kirtley's actually back at 15, it's a bit more balanced in that centre. I think
the centres have got something going.
Yeah,
they got Corabetti on the wing, who's huge for them.
Yeah,
another, like we talked about Johnny May for England, Jacob Stockdale for
scored
Ireland.
a worldie of a try against Samoa. Stepped in, stepped out, stepped in.
He's
great.
He's the guy. He's the guy on the wing. You put a pin on him.
Yeah.
They do have much more useful forwards. They have Scotty Seo, who can really scrummage.
Yeah.
Their lock forwards are great.
Yeah.
You know,
Rodda, Coleman, and
Rory Arnold, who's huge for them. Obviously, they can go back to that Brumbies well of having a great maul.
Yes.
They have more avenues for success up front, and obviously David Pocock is huge to have back in the team.
He's been missing for them for a while, and he is their world
changes the game. He gives them that potential of just jackal, especially with Hooper not doing that as much.
Well, I think Hooper plays much better with him there, because he's freed up to do that a bit more. He gets 1 or 2 steals in a game with Pocock, because they're both at it together.
Pocock, it works in tandem.
Yeah.
What I will say though is that I've just seen the picture of them getting bullied physically a little too often,
once or twice too many,
to convince me that, even though I very much like Rory Arnold and the like, and I think that at a Super Rugby level and even at some test level games they can be very good, and Scotty Seo is a scrummager, it's not the place they need to be, because I've just witnessed them get bullied there too often for them to really be elite there.
Yes.
Even with Pocock, who is a big game changer coming in, I think this game needs to be about pace. I think it needs to be about Will Genny at 9 and not Nick White at 9. It needs to be, we're moving this ball, we're getting it into Corabetti's hands, we're getting it into Karevi's hands.
Well, first things first, Pocock steals it, and then we can flash it wide and score tries. Crispness of passing and accuracy of passing, speed and tries. That's what Australian success has been built on in any World Cup. They're collectively, as a people, they just have a great sense of where a try is. Like, it's something that I think Ireland could learn from a bit. Like, even listening to their commentary, like, their commentators have definitely got their flaws. There's definitely some partisanship in the Aussie commentary.
Biased commentators.
There's a little bit of that, But one thing that, but and sometimes Kearnsey can be a bit moany, and I don't like that tone.
A bit, no, come on. Kearnsey's a very low.
Let me caveat that. What I will say is that when a break happens, all of them in the commentary booth know exactly where the ball should go for the try, and if it doesn't go there, they call it. They'll be like, "Oh, that ball should have gone," you know, and that seems to be a innate thing that Aussies have, where it's like, "Oh, tries over there, try time," and they can do that to the All Blacks when it kicks. Like,
and that is something that's noticeable for in Ireland and even England sometimes. You know, a line break happens and it's not reflected on. It's just, that's a great break by whoever, as opposed to in Australia, they'll be like, where do you give the ball?
Butchered the try.
There's just a bit more of that going on in Australia. And they do hunt tries.
Yes.
They are quality players. Michael Hooper himself is one of the great quality players of World Rugby. David Pocock, as we know, very, very talented all over the background.
What a playmaker.
Beale is doing the Villy LaRue role, and he's better than Villy LaRue. One area that they have over South Africa.
Yes.
He's a distributing fullback. He might be the best distributing fullback in the game.
Yeah, he needs to work on his high ball.
Barrett plays fullback.
He needs to work on his high ball.
Yeah.
That was noticeable in the second test, but that was just a poor performance from him in all areas as well, and as the picture, if Beale plays badly, things go wrong for this Wallaby side very, very quickly.
He doesn't play badly too often.
No, it's a rare thing, so it's probably good that he got one in just before the World Cup, because now he may string 7 flawless performances together in the World Cup. But you're right in saying, like, if the World Cup cycle means anything, then they're probably going to lose, likely in a quarter-final.
Probably. But they've got a game against Wales, and we'll touch on Wales as we go. They can beat Wales.
They can beat Wales. They have more history of beating Wales. Wales have struggled with it. They do.
Like, listen, getting on that outside wide, like, Wales pride themselves in their defence, but it's their narrow defence. Go wide, flood those wide channels, get on that outside shoulder, Jonathan Davis. things can happen.
Yeah, sure. Look what Rob Kearney can do with step through. That has always been an issue. Like James Davis has always been one Jonathan Davis. Sorry, James Davis. I
just say Jay Davis.
Jay Davis. Yes. Jonathan Davis is always been one of the more exciting go forward attacking centres. He's great with ball in hand. He has a little drop it on the toe play that's useful too. He can defend narrow attacking play very well. Those centres can come up and in.
He can make reads and
shut it down
tackles
from the inside.
Yeah.
But it's always been a matter of like when teams go slightly deeper and go wide, he's looser on his outside shoulder.
When he's operating on his outside shoulder, he can overstep it and get beat on his inside, as Josh van der Fleer did to him in that last weekend's game, and then he can just get a little narrow and get caught by Rob Kearney as he was in that game. It's been consistent. He's been always like
Nations. France and Scotland were the only ones to challenge them there. We were frustrated as Irish fans going like, go wide, why are we running into the Welsh wall all around the rucks when you can try and go wide? And then whenever teams do, there is space out there against Wales, and that is one area that Australia will look to attack.
From Wales' point of view, though, they have a lot to offer as well.
Grand Slam champs. You can't sleep on Grand Slam champions going into a World Cup.
Very settled. You talk about cycles mattering. It's been 10 years of Gatland for them. Yeah, they're all operating on the same page. They're a very pragmatic team.
Yes,
they try to do the right things at the right times. They can mix that game up with a bit more attacking play.
They can go to a kicking game. They can go to attacking game. They can go to a multi-phase game, which they did against England very well. Keep the ball a little while.
They can.
They're probably, we've said this before, I'm going to say it again, they're probably the most versatile team in this World Cup, in terms of they can play many different styles and do in one week to another. The picture they present is fundamentally different.
Yeah, and one out half to another with Patchell and Bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger's a great playmaker. He's obviously, his form matters. He's their number one guy. You talk about Beale in the high ball. Bigger, get after him.
Yeah,
and Liam Williams as well from fullback, get after him.
Yes,
they'll put those bombs up against Australia. I'd say that's how they'll go.
That's definitely
and try and win that ball like that. They're also very wily and very intelligent in that breakdown area. And
Alan Wynne leading it in both areas. It's like he's just. But it's his example. Like the rest of the team follows suit. You see their props getting in there and getting their hands in there and making. They love to create. Like turn what should be a 2-second ruck into a 7-8 second ruck just by being awkward and being there. And when they're loose, they get pinged for it because they're a bit too obvious and less subtle with it. But when they're on form with it and when they're there for the physical battle, they're very subtle and very niggly, very difficult to play against, very annoying to play against. And Alan Wynne-Jones always seems to be doing very annoying things from what the opposition's seeing, but then somehow charming the ref in the ensuing conversations, coming like
he's just playing a bit of rugby.
Yeah, so he's he is their talisman. He's the man who I can't see if he goes down in one of the early games. That's Wales.
It's Ryan Natoji again. It's another lock forward who's one of the great players in rugby at the moment.
Yeah,
maybe the greatest.
Yeah, and he's definitely got an argument. He's a stellar captain. He's probably my favourite captain in the game, just because I think his ref chat game is on another level.
Everything he does is on another level. He's a great player, and they're full of those little moments, those little subtle plays where they try and get an edge here and there. But then when push comes to shove, they can take a try.
Yeah,
Josh Adams' try against England last year,
awesome.
Yeah. George North on the other wing. He'll finish.
Yeah, even Tipuric in the wide channels, useful operator too. They're flankers, they're incumbent flankers. Navidi and Tipuric leaves them with a lot of speed. Yeah, a lot of speed in that back row, and they do like to be feverish in their tackle area.
They're a rare team in the sense that they are physically dominant in the narrow channels defensively, and a jackal threat.
Yes,
they're not like England where when England are at their defensive best, even though they do have jacklers, they actually just fan out and put no men in the rucks and try and just come up in a line. Wales will do that and then also compete at the breakdown and make it slow and then do it again. The great tacklers generally.
Yes,
and in the narrow channels can be just impossible to break down. They have had some issues recently. We're going into these warm-ups on a great momentum run of victories, which is now gone, having lost 3 of the 4 games.
Completely kaput,
Their scrum
is a massive concern for me. Like leaving Samson Lee and Rob Evans, the two,
feels a bit reactionary.
It does feel a little reactionary considering where they were in the Six Nations.
Talked about it last week and I reflected on it and I still think it's a bit reactionary.
Because I'm just not that impressed with what they're bringing in their stead, and I'm also there's something to that well of confidence. Confidence is based on evidence, and if a scrum's going badly for them, these guys who are there won't be able to look back on the time a few months ago in the Six Nations when they were solid and managed to get that going. Like, that's kind of my concern with it, but it is a good sign of depth. We've always been praising them for the amount of depth they do have, and the fact that Gatland's been there for 10 years means there's been a lot of players who come in and played this system. They all, despite the fact that the regions seem like a rudderless mess most of the time, they get into a Welsh jersey and play.
It's incredible what Gatland, because the Welsh Rugby Union have been batshit in terms of running things, but Gatland, in his capacity as head coach, has managed to manufacture from chaos a singular purpose and a singular understanding within a squad that is phenomenal, and that goes like 50 players deep, not 31 players deep. They all understand what Wales is and what they're trying to do. And that's
an impressive, and it's an intangible, but it's very real, and it's all their success is built on that.
I actually think, in terms of Wales, in terms of how this pool goes, it's dodgy. There's no question it's dodgy. I actually think they get better the further along they go and the more tighter games get. I think if they can get through this pool, especially if they top it and avoid England, they could become one of the favourites to win the tournament because of how they are in tight games. When things enter cup rugby, all those wily little plays have more significance. Their narrow defence becomes more valuable. Their kicking game is all the more valuable because things just get tighter in cup footy. And so that's really what they want. But as it's in the pool stages, it's a little more, we've got our round robin going, it's a little more loose. And then you've got teams like Fiji and Australia
and Georgia.
And Georgia has a scrum.
It just means that this pool presents less of an opportunity. Like when you look at what Ireland have in terms of a block of 2 games that are their big games, and then they have 2 more that they can kind of rotate. Similarly with the All Blacks and South Africa, they'll have 1 big game and then they'll be a bit more experimental. With Wales, they have less opportunity. Wales and Australia, less opportunity to rotate because there are some dicey games. You can't be affording to yank the heart out of the team and then suddenly be bullied at scrum time and have rudderless plays coming up against Georgia. Like that's
they open the tournament against Georgia on a Monday. Then the following Sunday, so 6-day turnaround, playing Australia. Then they have a 10-day break until then they play Fiji, which actually helps. That's good. And then they're playing Uruguay to round it up. It's 3 big games to start things off. 2 big games in particular in the space of a week. Australia, who they have such a terrible history of. You don't want to be playing Georgia 6 days before a big game against Australia.
You don't.
If that was a scheduling thing that they'd done themselves, you'd describe it as madness.
Yes, indeed.
And yet that's what the draw has presented them with. And that's a very they're starting a little later than everybody else. They're on the Monday instead of the Friday or Saturday or Sunday. And then, it is against a wily Georgian team.
A physical Georgian team.
They need to be putting that team to bed, and they need to be doing it early, and then making the game about their wingers, maybe playing patchel, getting wide plays into the game, getting on the front foot.
Would much rather see a patchel man of the match performance rather than a struggling tight head story from Wales' perspective, because that can be the picture against Georgia.
Indeed. But it's a physical game. If guys go down, that's a losing picture for them. This is why, in terms of predicting the outcome of this pool, I mean, I'm at a loss. Your percentages is Wales, Australia. I don't even know which order that's going to be in. Who's going to win that Wales Australia game? Are Fiji going to throw a spanner in the works and beat either of those teams? Entirely possible. Are Georgia going to throw a spanner in the works and beat Fiji or injure a dozen Welshmen? Entirely possible. Are Uruguay going to lose all of those games? Yes.
That's the one thing I'm almost certain about. It's cool, but everything else is up for grabs. I think if push comes to shove and I was to make it a prediction, I would say
it's so tough.
It's still so tough.
It's so hard to read in. We don't know if Wales are on a bad momentum patch after these 3 and 4 losses. Losing Gareth Anscombe. It could snowball, but they also are just too smart for that to happen, aren't they?
I'm gonna say Australia, then Wales. I'm gonna say Australia are gonna beat Wales as they often do in Japan in the heat. They're gonna manage to get some plays off and beat them, and it would be annoying for Wales, the Grand Slam champions.
What about Fiji? Two losses.
And that's what I'm thinking is the most likely. But
I can't predict. I can't predict. I don't want to. It's going to be fun. It's my favourite pool.
My favourite pool as
I'm hoping for close games. I'm hoping the Georgians don't get blown away by the speed and get some of that physicality off.
Yes, it would be nice to see.
Because obviously I like Georgians and I want to see them go well.
This is it. But I am also just that factor of the heat and humidity Doesn't help them, but it also doesn't help Wales. Like more so, it suits Fiji and Australia better than Wales.
Fiji have been building and building and building for the last 4 years. They have put it up to tier 1 sides. There isn't that gap between them and tier 1 sides. They are playing at a professional level consistently.
Yes.
They do know European rugby. It's a Rugby World Cup in a Pacific island.
Yes.
You know, they could.
They're
this is good. Like, it's so tough.
It is definitely
it's
the most
tough
exciting pool
to say what's going to happen.
and that's why I'm branding it the pool of death. I know Pool C has its own issues.
Pool C has one very specific dynamic because England are going to top that pool more than likely, and they have one game on the opening day, France and Argentina, that is going to decide things.
Yes.
And that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's not quite the same as this helter skelter, all kinds of matchups everywhere.
Yeah.
Madness.
Different
that's
styles
going on.
of play everywhere. Like Georgia playing the slowest of all of them, but probably have the best scrum of anyone in the pool. And you're like, all of that's very interesting. And
it is.
I'm just excited to see it. To be honest, whatever my predictions.
Oh yeah.
But speaking of, we'll move on. Those are our pool previews. That's every team in this World Cup.
We have talked
about, and it has taken us a little while because there's a lot of teams.
This is our World Cup special, yo.
World Cup special.
It just goes on.
Yep. And with that, we're going to move on to some predictions, which I know you kind of shy away from, but we're going to dive in.
Well,
I'm just going to preface it with contenders.
Yes.
Who are the contenders for this World Cup? And as it's been said many times, it is the tightest a World Cup has been in pretty much that I can remember, in terms of there are many, many contenders. So like top contenders, I still think All Blacks. Have to put them number 1. Then we're saying Springboks.
Yeah, it's
number 2.
Close,
it's close between those two. England.
Yep.
Can't deny undeniable performances of late.
Fair enough.
Wales, Grand Slam champions. Don't
Awesome
sleep on
team.
them. They're up there too. Ireland. Team
In
of
the
2018
mix.
in the mix. Grand Slam champions 2018.
Awesome players.
Yeah, definitely can win it. And then I think they're probably the 5 most likely. But France, Australia are 2 that I have in the same bracket of if the 4-year cycle means anything, they can't win.
Yeah.
But if the 4-year cycle is maybe a bit overblown and it's more about being in the right place for the tournament and being hot at the right time, these 2 teams exemplify that. They're one from either hemisphere, but they both have a tradition of attacking, running rugby.
Whether they're going to have enough to go through the whole tournament remains to be seen.
Yes.
But they may well have enough to beat some of those sides who we've listed
ahead of them. For sure. So they're definitely interesting. And then I think slightly lower again, we have Argentina and Scotland, who are the outside chances.
You know what? They those sides are like outside chance. They can't probably win the tournament, but they're outside shouts at maybe a semi-final.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing they're looking at.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, those. So how many is that now? That's 9.
That's every tier 1 side minus
Italy. Yes. Because Italy,
and that's never been the case. It's never been the case that you said every tier 1 side has a plausible avenue for even a semi-final.
Yeah.
And then obviously to take away 2 of those sides, and you've got 7 sides who we think have a chance of winning the tournament.
Yeah.
Like if you run this tournament through a number of times,
it's
entirely in your simulator.
Yes.
It's entirely possible that a decent percentage of the times every one of those 7 teams wins.
Maybe. Yeah. This is it.
You know what? One of them is going to flop as well.
Yes.
That's the other cool dynamic, is like probably one of those 7 teams is going to completely flop, completely shit the bed.
Yeah. And that often does happen in the World Cup. It just gets wrong and then it snowballs. Because momentum's such a key thing. Yeah. So like what we're saying about with if Australia or France can get hot at the right time, momentum can carry them there.
Terribly
if
wrong
it goes wrong, momentum works the other way. You just can't look at Ireland 07 for a good case in point of coming in, riding momentum, and then just a bad series of warm-up games leading into probably poor conditioning as well, but bad opening fixture, and then it just got worse and worse.
It's exactly the negative picture. Like Wales are currently in line for that to happen. But obviously they could book that trend. They're a very smart team.
Yeah.
In terms of the quarterfinals, I think it's just as a way to start. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to say Pool C winner is the first quarterfinals. Pool C winner, who we have said is England.
I think that's England,
against the Pool D runner-up, which you making the call have said Wales. So that is quarterfinal 1.
Yeah. I also think that would be a funny little thing, because I think the two of... If that is to happen, then neither England or Wales are going to win the World Cup.
Probably.
Because they'll knock lumps out of each other,
true.
And whoever wins will just limp into the semi-final to get swatted away.
And it's like neither side is going to get blown away in that game. It's going to be a bruising encounter.
Yeah.
So you have that as quarterfinal 1. You have the Pool B winner, All Blacks or South Africa. I don't know. One of them is going to be playing Scotland or Japan, probably as runner-up. of Pool A. And then obviously you've got your Australia versus, I guess we're saying France is our runner-up of
that's
of
what
Pool
I've
C.
said, but it could be Argentina.
It could be
easily.
Argentina.
Yeah.
So Australia v France, and then Ireland against one of the All Blacks or South Africa. Very, very tough to say who's coming out of these pools in the right way. And then obviously your semi-final is going to be the winner of that England-Wales game, what we've said, against whoever wins Pool B.
Yes. Yeah.
So, England in a semi-final against whoever wins Pool B. That's my first prediction of this prediction segment, is that is where England don't fall short. They top their group, they win their quarterfinal, they're playing the winner of Pool B in the semi-final, and that is where they come unstuck. Because of discipline issues.
I don't know, maybe they're playing Japan.
They're not playing Japan. I'm sorry.
Japan home.
And you know what? If they're playing Japan will beat them. Japan have got that far.
Then they're going to win. It's not going to be England that's going to stop. I'm inclined to agree with you, to be honest, about England. I know there's a lot of the buzz around certainly Ireland and through the Six Nations is England are going to win. Oh god, England are scary. That tends to be a disconnect in terms of like people aren't watching South Africa or New Zealand as often. So I've been watching England too. Very impressive as they are. I think they will come unstuck. I think the 4-year cycle does matter, and I think some of the bad habits that they have and some of the mistakes they are making in selection will leave them unstuck as far as winning
against the very best teams in the world. And whoever wins that Pool B, you could say, is the best team in the world. Whoever wins between the All Blacks and South Africa, I think is a fair shout for best in the world.
That's true.
And that team are probably going to see off whoever comes runner-up in Pool A. And they're going to be playing in that semi-final. If England top their group, which they almost certainly will, they're going to be playing in that semi-final. Game for the ages. England could win it. But in terms of World Cup predictions, my first one is that is where they come unstuck.
Semi-final time.
Semi-final time for England.
It'll still be a damn fine World Cup, but
second prediction, it's harder to say. Second prediction, Ireland topping their pool are going to be playing the loser of that New Zealand-South Africa game. Oh, bail me out with a prediction here.
Well, like my prediction policy when it comes to Ireland is to be completely green-eyed and say that no matter what happens, we're going to top the pool, beat either South Africa or New Zealand on our way to the final in our first ever World Cup.
Okay, so here's a fun one for
that's
you.
my prediction.
You picked Australia to win Pool D.
I have in this particular fleeting moment.
So that gives you an Australia-France quarter-final.
It would be interesting.
What's happening there?
It would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like France in a World Cup.
Wow, you like France?
I like the look of their jib.
You could. I mean, listen, it would be great, but
you
could get caught out.
Egg in my face. Yeah. No, France are as likely
when the
to
USA
capitulate and
destroy them. It's like
no, it's just like backing on for what I love about France is like I have a pretty decent read on what most teams do. France are an anomaly in my mind. I don't know.
It's like when they look good, they look so good. It's like, why aren't you just winning everything? You mad bastard. Look at how good you are.
Yes, indeed.
I just don't know how good their pack is.
No, but I think
Pocock is going to dominate them in that game. Like, if Pocock is fit.
If he's fit. If he comes out of that pool.
If he comes through, if the Georgians haven't broken.
True. Scrum time, though, France will definitely, I reckon, get an edge.
Scotty Seo can scrummage.
He can scrummage, but France can scrummage better.
I think you're underrating the Aussie scrum. I think they've got it fixed. For that level. Not at the top level. But not South Africa, not Ireland. But at that level, I think they've got it fixed.
Possibly. It could go either way. Those are the two. It would be a great quarterfinal because they're the two momentum-based teams that would be going.
So there you go, and that's actually I have arrived then at a second prediction, which is it's tough because you've given Australia that pool, but I really think Wales.
You think Wales are going to, and like that's as likely.
And then if Wales win it, I think Wales could just meander their way to the final.
Could do.
That's one of the pictures.
Yeah, that's what's the disaster. It'd be a cruel irony, but I think it's likely because of it. If Wales fail to top their group and meet England in that quarter final, that's horrible for both teams.
Yeah,
like awful for both teams. And then meanwhile, Australia get to play France, which is just a much nicer game for everyone involved.
Yeah, indeed. But then the winner of that game, what you have as Australia France, is going to play Ireland or whoever comes a runner-up in South Africa, New Zealand. Mm-hmm. And I would say the prediction too is that team makes the final. runner-up Ireland, the winner of Ireland, or the runner-up of South Africa.
Yes.
New Zealand. So essentially, what I have said is that the final is going to be between the winner of South Africa, New Zealand, and either the loser of that game or Ireland.
Yeah.
But the spanner that I would throw into the mix is that if Wales top their pool, I think they're going to make the final.
Yeah. That's one thing that Ireland don't want us to meet Wales in the semi-final.
Yeah, no chance.
Yeah.
No chance. If you've just beaten the All Blacks and then you go and play Wales, it's just such an inevitable defeat for an Irish Ireland.
Yeah. Ireland always back up their highest moments with some of their worst.
With
It's very often the defeat to Wales.
Yeah. So there's that aspect of it. But yeah, if Wales don't top their pool, I think there's every chance it'll be New Zealand, South Africa.
It's very possible. Yeah, it's happened before.
Yeah. And then to wrap up the prediction segment, then who's going to win the tournament? We have to make a call.
Well, again, I'm a bit redundant in this because I'm going to say Ireland. Yay! Green lens.
Yeah,
but I'm also going to think probably South Africa are the most likely to do it. But yeah,
it's a plurality of chance. It's not like there isn't a sense of anybody being the most likely in terms of. Nobody has a greater than 50% chance of winning the World Cup.
No, it's true. Yeah,
if you run this World Cup out 10 times, nobody's going to win it more than 5.
Yeah.
Which is exciting.
Yeah.
I am with you, though, South Africa. I'm just sticking... I'm sort of trying to keep my analysis hat on. It's so tough because, as we said, there's so many variables.
Yes.
But the team that's getting things most right is South Africa.
True.
The best all-round rugby team seems to be South Africa.
So probably at the moment. That's
those
true.
boys. But then it all changes if Pollard gets injured. You know, this is the thing.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
but we'll say South Africa. That's my call anyway.
Yeah, no, but I'm still saying Ireland because
you said South Africa though, didn't you?
No, but it's Ireland are going to win the World Cup. Yeah. How many times do I have to say it? I was saying it all the time 4 years ago. Turned out I was wrong that time, but this time I'm actually right. We're going to win the World Cup.
All right. All right, and then we're just going to throw a little colourful segment to end the show, which is our ones to watch in this tournament.
And there are many of them.
Things to watch, matches to watch,
yeah.
Players to watch. And we're just going to start by talking about the player of the tournament. Who is going to be the player of the tournament? Shane, over to you.
Yes. Well, a lot depends on who goes well and how. Player of the tournament will be based on one team getting a bit of momentum and who's the key man in that. So if you're thinking if Wales are going to go march to the World Cup, as you said they might, then look no further than Alan Jones.
No
because
further.
If Wales are marching all the way to the final, it's with him in the row and it's with him as
him
captain
leading,
and him leading
marching
everything.
them down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would have him as a potential thing. But then similarly, if Ireland are to do a similar job and get all the way to the final first time ever, I think James Ryan would be the key man in that team for the way we play, for it to be successful to get us that far. It would put the likes of James Ryan in as contender. Maybe Stockdale as well if he grabs a load of tries. For that kind of, Sexton
runs the show.
Conor Murray if he has a stormer of a tournament.
Yeah.
But I think James Ryan is a likely one just because we play quite an attritional tight game. But then if the All Blacks are going all the way, which is not unprecedented. I mean, they've done it the last 2 World Cups.
Yeah, not unprecedented.
No, indeed.
Most of the World Cups.
Yes.
Bowden Barrett.
He's an awesome player.
People are so focused on his qualities as a 10 or lack thereof or issues here and there with place kicking and everything else and distribution. They miss how good a rugby player he is.
He's just a constant rugby
insane.
player.
He has been the best player in the world. If you talk about World Cup cycles, best player in the world this World Cup cycle is Bowden Barrett. And it's not close.
Yeah.
He has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
He has been as a try-scoring machine.
Yes. As a defensive last-ditch tackler,
his kicking game has come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Been brilliant. He's been brilliant.
Yeah.
And if the All Blacks are to go well, he will be at the heart and soul of all of it.
And then if England are to go well, similarly, I'd say Itoje, Vunipola, Farrell are probably the 3 most likely contenders for...
No, those are the guys.
And
that's Billy V. As good as Mako is, they never give props credit, so...
No, that's the point as well. Like Ireland's player of the tournament would probably be Cian Healy if he were to win the whole thing, but he's not going to give it. But yes, Mako is similarly disadvantaged by being a prop in the context of all these colourful player of the tournament type things. He just doesn't score the flashy tries. Or maybe Johnny May, but I don't think so. I think it would be Itoje, Vunipola, Farrell, which is the little spine of what their team is about.
Totally.
And it is possible because England could go marching through as well.
If it's South Africa, then you're talking your halfbacks, first of all, Faf and Andre Pollard
the heartbeat of the team,
and then outside of that, Dwayne Vermeulen, Can you look much further? Sia Khaleesi, what a team they
Malcolm
have.
Marks.
Cheslin
Colby.
My suspicion with Cheslin Colby, my suspicion is that if they're to go all the way, that the leader of that pack will emerge as Dwayne Vermeulen. Khaleesi's obviously a big leader around the field, but Dwayne Vermeulen has the physical presence that he is. He's the guy who's going to make your big time steals
in the tight. Khaleesi tends to hang out slightly wider than him as well, because
Khaleesi
he's more
will
athletic.
grab some tries.
Oh, he will, and he'll grab some players by the scruff.
He might be the guy to make actually himself and Vermeulen might be the guys to make Bram Steyn finally move backwards in a game of rugby.
I think that pretty much always happens when South Africans who are playing for other, like CJ Stander went to South Africa and got injured.
That's so true. Every time that a South African expat plays South Africa, tends to be a rough day for them.
Yes, it does.
Just beaten by the guys they kind of know are better than them.
Yeah, exactly. On some level, that's true. So then little kind of just chucked in there for my sake. If France go all the way, then
you love France. Shane loves France. He's outed as a France fan.
If it's to be them, then it's Antoine Dupont.
Yeah.
If they're to be successful, it's Petit General Antoine Dupont.
Yep.
Pulling the strings and getting them there and finding some nice tries and some nice passes. That's the outside bet.
Yeah, it is an outside bet. It is definitely.
You'd get good odds.
You would for sure.
But then top try scorer.
Oh no! Can we have a prediction on player of the tournament, please?
Prediction of
Okay. of all of those contenders, just for colour.
Well, then I'm doing the same. James Ryan.
All right.
Optimism.
I'm going to say Alan Wynne-Jones.
I'm going to say Alan Wynne-Jones.
No. You changed my mind. Bowden Barrett.
You're going to say Bowden. I thought that's where your head was going. I was surprised by that. Bowden Barrett. Yeah, no, I'm optimistically going to say James Ryan. But I think Bowden Barrett is
Although I did predict South Africa to win the thing, so maybe Andre Pollard. Maybe Andre Pollard just won't miss a kick for the whole tournament.
He has looked very imperious.
He can just get like...
Or Faf.
50 out of 50
is just
kicks.
Pulling the strings and being the heartbeat. That's,
Yeah.
They're definitely ones to watch, though. All of those players are elite and world class and just part of the reason we love the Rugby World Cup, because they're all going to be there. And then top try scorer, which is an illustrious enough thing. It's a pretty storied list.
I'm going to read out a short list of options for you for the top try scorer of the tournament, and I want you to see. First of all, tell me who I've missed if I've missed anybody, but then also see who you're picking from it. Jacob Stockdale, our Irish representative. I think Samoa Nkosi, if things go well for him, he could get into the team and rack up some tries.
Definitely.
If he's playing against Namibia, Canada, Samoa Nkosi, Mapimpi, Cheslin Colby,
all the South African wingers.
Yep,
because they're playing Namibia and Canada, and Italy.
Sever Reece, George Bridge, Bowden Barrett.
Yes,
all potential top try scorers. Johnny May, can't sleep on Johnny May.
No.
Stuart Hogg from Scotland, in with a shout. TJ Perinar from the All Blacks, another shout.
Yes.
Scrummy who gets tries. Damien Penaud.
Oh, awesome.
And again he reacts to the Frenchman. Baptiste Delguy.
Yeah, awesome one. We haven't seen enough of him this year.
Big Buffelli getting some
potential
tries
there. Yeah.
George North.
Yes.
Curtly Bale.
Definitely.
Marika Corey Betty.
Yes.
Semi Radradra. Josh Tuisova.
Yeah. They're all
now. That's my Joe Taufete'e. Can't leave him out because the man has a try scoring record like you wouldn't believe from hooker for the US.
No, I still think it's going to be Rob Kearney, man. nine try Kearney they used to call him.
Did they know?
No.
Kearney to actually score 15 tries and break Jonah Lolu's all-time World Cup record. Yeah.
In one World Cup.
Brown Lomu and Brian Abana share that record.
No, it's going to be Rob all day.
Rob Kearney. Give me a real prediction.
Rob Carnage. No, a real prediction. I'm going to say Nkosi.
That's a good shout.
Because I think he's going to play against both Namibia and Canada.
And score four
tries
and no
in
one
each.
will catch him.
Yeah, because those are the games when that kind of thing is decided. It's tier 1 against tier 2 and it's pool stage and it's cricket scores. That's when like Keith Earls is Ireland's top try scorer ever, and he scored so many of them against Italy in World Cups.
Didn't Julian Savia get a hat-trick in a quarter-final last year? Against your beloved France.
Yes. Well, that France were terrible. This France are better than that France.
Hopefully.
They're better than that France.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
no,
yes.
I love Toulouse more than France, to be honest. I'm excited for France because Toulouse.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. There's a lot to like about France.
Yeah.
So you're going for
I'm going for Spoon Kosi.
I am going to go for TJ Perinara.
That's also a
giving a scrummy shout.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a scrummy get tough. The man scores tries.
He does score tries. Yeah.
So he's going to just get a load of inside balls.
Yes, what he's looking for.
Namibia,
yes,
and he's going to score those tries.
Yeah.
So TJ is my guy. Now, breakthrough player. I'm not even sure if there's a way to resolve this because I'm not sure if these are even given out officially. But there was a breakthrough player of the year award last time, and I'm thinking breakthrough player of the tournament. Now, these are guys who are not quite stars, but could make a name for themselves.
Yeah, there's always it's kind of aligned with the idea of a bolter, although a bolter is probably like if you're in your first World Cup and kind of a young man,
Jordan Mataya,
that kind of thing. But like bolter can also mean just someone who hasn't been
these are guys
on the international stage.
Rugby guys will know, but probably haven't emerged on the international stage quite to the degree that they could. And who's going to emerge? Like there's Fukuoka and Radradra, who obviously everybody knows, but they would know a whole lot more if they did some stuff
at the World Cup.
Yes,
yeah.
And Becca Gorgodza at number 8 for Georgia could be the man. Viliami Mata as well. The Northern Hemisphere guys are all familiar with him, but he could make his name on the world stage. From an Ireland point of view, Andrew Conway, who was
coming in with form,
was a superstar. Like you wouldn't believe at schoolboy level. Everyone was like, "This guy's next to O'Driscoll."
Yeah,
and then he played for Leinster for a bit, looked a little bit slight, went out to Munster, slowly got better and better and better. Scored a world.
He worked on all of his fundamentals. Yeah. He's great under the high ball. He's solid everywhere. He plays 15 and wing.
Scored a worldie of a try to get Munster into the semi-final into the 2018 season of the Champions Cup, and has come into this World Cup in the form of his life. And if he gets given the go by Joe to play in these big games, Andrew Conway could make a name for himself, and all of a sudden people who hadn't heard of him from New Zealand could be talking about him.
This Conway boy is pretty good.
Andrew Conway would be our shout. Jordan Pataya himself
from Australia, definitely the consummate bolter. He hasn't even been capped yet, and he is at the World Cup.
You never.
If he goes well, like they really are excited by him. So
Dupont and Pinot, I would say,
they're the two French contributors. I'd agree with that.
Mikey Teo is a guy I'm a big fan of from America who didn't play in the PNC. He's a very, very quick winger, old school American style winger.
You know, some sprinter pace,
Tazuki and Gwenya type of guy. And I would be excited to see him go well. I have a shout out for Pablo Matera from Argentina.
He's your favourite Argentinian, isn't he, at the moment?
100%. He's a proper flanker. He's a flanker's flanker, and he's a class. He's got great ball skills to him. If Argentina are to go well, he's going to be a big part of the reason why, because he's tough. Tougher than the rest of that Argentinian team, and he looks insane. When they go well, he's like making all the plays. Kind of like Peter O'Mahony in that game that Ireland beat the All Blacks. He's just everywhere. And if Argentina are to go well, he'll be a big part of that, and he'll steal headlines. People will be like, "Who's this Pablo Matera guy? He's so good." That could happen. Joe Tokanasiga from England, kind of bolted into the squad. Fijian guy can make things happen.
Definitely.
Darcy Graham from
Darcy
Scotland.
Graham. Oh, he's been awesome all season.
Nobody talks about him, but man, he tore the Georgians a new one on both games, and he's a very good guy.
Plus, you can't miss him. He's got the peroxide blonde hair for the World Cup.
He does.
He does. He'll definitely stand out there.
Yeah, and then there's Seyu Teni from Samoa, the young 10, who has all the skills to step up and make things happen. If things go well for Samoa, you might see some good things happen.
I'd probably throw in you Tamora then in a similar vein.
Yeah, absolutely.
As lovely 10s from the tier 2 sides.
So give me a prediction for who one or two maybe, or just even one if you wanted to.
Breakthrough players.
Who's going to be the breakthrough player? Who's going to make things happen from that list?
Mata, I like the look of.
Yeah.
Damien Pinot, I think has been pretty imperious.
I think people are going to be talking about Damien Pinot the other side of this World Cup. Yeah, I think so. This man thinks France are going to win the tournament.
No,
right now.
No, I don't. But I have a very built-in knowledge of Irish rugby history, and a part of that is respecting France.
I hear you.
Yeah,
on that I hear you.
Yeah,
I am going to say that the bolter. I'm going to be like you and weirdly optimistic. I'm going to say Andrew
Conway.
Yeah,
that's very possible.
I think Andrew Conway is going to take Keith Earls' jersey away from him and start in the right wing when it comes to a World Cup quarter-final. And if we win, he could be a big part of the reason why. Andrew Conway is very, very good.
Yeah,
and Ireland don't even understand how good he could be.
Yeah,
you know?
And World Cups are a place for wingers to showcase their stuff. You know, and wingers suddenly increase their stock immeasurably, and then normally get massive offers from French clubs.
Yeah. Listen, we are almost finished with our marathon special on this Rugby World Cup. We tried to make it shorter, but we can't. We're physically incapable of doing that. And so,
and if you stuck with us, thanks so much. But, we'll wrap up with
The games of the tournament. What are the games to watch? Obviously, outside of the final and the quarterfinals and everything else.
And just all the games.
Yeah.
Outside of all the games.
Which of course you should watch. Which are the games, if you're a neutral and you're looking to get into it, what games are you going to be hoping to watch? I would say for sheer clash of styles and tier 2 fun, Fiji v Georgia is one of my games of the tournament.
Definitely.
I think it's got wonderful colour to it. It's
Beauty
forwards
and the
against backs. It's Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
It's got all the potential to just be this insane game of footy. It could whichever team takes hold of it, it could go either way. You could see the Georgians dominate things, but then Fiji gets some plays off, and then it could be tight in that way.
You could see Fiji blitz them.
You could see Fiji blitz them, but as a clash of styles between sides of a similar-ish level, but very, very different to each other, it's got a lot of fun and a lot of colour to it.
Yeah. Then Japan-Scotland from Pool A.
What a game.
What a significant game for both of them. It'll probably be the deciding factor of who's going to the quarterfinal and who isn't. You'll have that Japanese crowd roaring everything on. You'll have a Scotland side buoyed by their performances against Georgia and their momentum coming in. You'll have Finn Russell, you'll have Yuta Moore, you'll have Fukuoka, you have Darcy Gray. You have all this great stuff going on.
You've got two sides who embrace attacking rugby.
Yeah.
Going at it for a place in a quarterfinal. What more do you want? It's going to be a showcase game. It's going to be high skill, high technical attacking rugby with stakes.
Yes,
that's what you want.
It's a proper game.
That's what you want.
And
you could eat it with a steak.
Yeah.
Watch it while eating steak is what I meant to say there.
Eat it with a steak. Eat it with a steak.
I've just thrown into the mix every single matchup in Pool D between either Fiji and Georgia or Wales and Australia.
Yeah.
Every single one of those games is going to be curious.
Every game from Pool D that doesn't involve Uruguay
is a game
to watch. Yeah, because they're also interesting, and similarly clash of styles everywhere, and just so many dynamics at play, as we did say in that pool. That is the pool to watch, and they're definitely, all of those games are worth casting your eyes on. And then of course we bury in the lead a little bit with this one, but day 2 of the tournament, week 1 overall, round 1, South Africa versus New Zealand, Springboks versus All Blacks.
Yeah.
Probably 1 and 2 in the world against each other in the first round.
Yeah,
and,
one of the first games you're going to see is between the two best sides in the world. I mean, guys, this is the game to watch.
Of course.
The best teams,
always the game to watch.
The best teams in the world.
Yeah.
Let's watch them go at it, and it can take so many different shapes. It'll likely be close. It's the game at the highest level. You always have to appreciate that.
Yes, that's exactly right. So that'll be some showcase.
Yeah, I've put in Australia-Wales.
Yeah.
Just because I think that game is going to colour so much of how I see this tournament going. I think there's a lot riding on that game. I think it's going to inform where Wales are at and where Australia are at, and actually what's likely to happen after it. If Wales get the better of it, all of a sudden England are avoiding Wales in that physical battle in the quarters.
Which means England's chances are improved and Wales'
chances are. It changes the shape of it entirely. If Australia win, there's a big chance for, I think, South Africa or New Zealand to go all the way to the final. So I think that game is actually going to colour the wider tournament in a big way, and actually reveal quite a bit about where both sides are at, and will have consequences thereafter. I think that's an important,
as well as being a very good game of footy between two sides that are well balanced, and yet the winning record's on Australia's side, but the momentum and probably more recent kind of form is on Wales' side.
Yeah, it's a curious one.
It's interesting. And then finally, we have one more, but there are loads more. Obviously, the final you're going to watch as well. But France v Argentina, which is a consequential game. A lot of our predictions were based on the idea that France would win that one.
Yeah,
but it's as likely.
Leading.
I was pushing that, no doubt. But and a lot of our Southern Hemisphere subs might be saying, "What are you talking about? Argentina are going to win that game."
Argentina,
and that's a fair shout. Argentina are dangerous, and Argentina in the World Cup are a different animal altogether. So it's
going to be another game of two great attacking sides. It could take many different shapes, and again is going to have quarterfinal stakes riding on it. And it actually is a if you hadn't noticed, on the Saturday after the first game, all three of the games on the Saturday, the opening Saturday of the tournament, are in our games to watch. There's Fiji Australia, which is one of our melee in that pool. Then there's Argentina against France, and then South Africa against New Zealand. Saturday,
what a day of rugby!
What a day of rugby! 21st of September. Mark it in your calendar. Do not tolerate anybody who will try to take you away from those rugby games.
Yes,
it's important.
It is important.
God damn it! Listen, that's it. we have gone for is it our longest show ever?
It might be our
Probably.
longest show ever.
It's the World Cup special. The Rugby World Cup is happening, folks. Get excited. I'm excited. Shane's excited.
Sure, we're gonna. According to me, we're gonna win the World Cup. So why wouldn't I be excited?
Of course. Come on, you boys in green.
That's where we are. We will try to keep our non-partisanship hats on for as best we can, but we'll also caveat that by saying that Ireland are going to win the World Cup, which is about the most partisan statement we can make.
Oh, totally. Come on, you boys in green.
Yeah.
Come on, Ireland. Come on, rugby. This is going to be a great tournament. I'm dying to see it. Very excited. And
we will be covering it, no doubt, as well. We'll be keeping our podcast going. We're going to try and do a few live streams of some of the games.
100%.
We're going to try and set that up and broadcast them live on YouTube. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. But yeah, we'll be busily churning out the content for you during this World Cup and watching all the games as well.
We will, of course.
Yeah.
Listen, thanks for sticking with us this long, guys. Whoever did, hopefully you were wise and watched it in bits. But thanks so much, and we'll see you next week for our preview of the opening weekend's games. And there are some doozies in there.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
See you.
See you.
Glancing blow.
Oh, cut the light though. It was nice.
That was a nice sound off
it
too.
Was.